Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another round in the one and only Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship Season 7, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available on PC, known as iRacing, and powered by Doble Motorcycles. We roar our way into the second third of the season, and today, for round number 4 of 10, we're here in the United States of America for our only visit to the USA for this season, and our first ever visit in the NXTCC's history to the one and only Charlotte Motor Speedway. Located in the US state of North Carolina, this circuit venue is one of the premier racing venues when it comes to not just oval racing, but also road racing in the US of A. And whilst perhaps overshadowed to a degree by the road course of Daytona in one of the states of the USA known as Florida, well, this North Carolina state circuit has its own unique Roval, which we welcome our drivers today. Spanning 16 corners and an extensive reach of what is the best part in terms of mileage of none other than 2.28 miles. It is a circuit that is absolutely testing for our drivers, with a multitude of off-camber corners, tight apexes, chicanes, and also the best part of 75% of the oval banking as well. It's going to be fast, furious, and technical, all in equal measure, and it's going to welcome our drivers and put them through their absolute limits. And that's not to add that the walls come thick and fast, there's very little runoff area, and therefore danger lurks at every single corner. But as we get set to go racing today, we welcome you all to this broadcast from circuit side, and well, it's absolutely brilliant to have so many of you tuning in as always, and you can be tuning in via one of the official Next Gen Racing media channels, and those include on YouTube, and we do see it where is there Welsh Boy 2012, also Craig Tillerson, and also Costa Chat's continuing to in there, and that's on YouTube at Next Gen Racing, and welcome to you guys in the chat. We also do have the official broadcast on our Facebook group, and that's at facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing, and welcome to you guys and girls on Facebook. And last but not least, we have the unofficial broadcast available on Twitch at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys and girls in the Twitch chat. But who is TX141, I hear you ask? Well, I'm introducing myself as your host and commentator for this season. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain as Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. Now we bring you all your racing action from circuit side as we get underway today. And our schedule for today is as follows. Times in British summertime, that's BST, or still coordinate time +1 at UTC +1. And as we can see, in approximately what will be 17 minutes time, we're going into a qualifying session, 15 minutes in duration. All the drivers out on the circuit looking to go for pole position, after which we'll head into our first of our 3 races. All of them 14 laps in duration, and our first sprint race being at 8:15 this evening, after which we'll take a brief breather before building up to race number 2 and coming back just to get underway at before 9 o'clock. After that, we will be having another breather after race number 2, but not about all-important reverse grid draw for the purposes of race number 3. And speaking of that race number 3, we'll be looking to get that underway at approximately 10:15 this evening, all being well on our schedule, and we'll plenty of racing to come here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And well, goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, we are in for a treat. And let's talk a little bit about our season so far and what still lies in wait, of course, because we've got still plenty of racing on the calendar. And as we can see, as we march our way onwards into August, now at the midpoint of August, the 13th of August today at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Prior to this, in round number 1, we opened up proceedings on the 23rd of July at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. The Spanish circuit delivering us an absolutely brilliant trio of races to get our bank account underway when it came to the racing. And then in round number 2, we made our way to neighbouring Germany on the European continent. And on the 30th of July, our drivers made their way around the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg's National A layout and absolutely attacked it left, right and centre. And we got to see some absolutely incredible battling to go with it. And then last time out in round number 3, we went to Japan for the first of 2 visits this season. And that was to the Fuji International Speedway on the 6th of August. And there we got to see a very different circuit compared to our opening 2 circuits, but one that absolutely pushed our drivers to the limit, and with its extensive start-finish straight meant that many were gasping for top-end speed by the end of the opening run. But now we make our way into round number 4, and after today, we've got one more round to go before we head into our mid-season break of 2 weeks, and that'll be on the 20th of August, and our first ever extensive feature race round, where instead of the 3 race format, we'll be having a single 60-minute feature race, and we'll be seeing all the drivers line up on that grid in reverse championship order overall, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we go racing as of next week. But that'll be at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium on the 20th of August, and then we'll have our 2-week mid-season break, after which we'll return for the second half of the season, kicking off on the 10th of September with round number 6 at the Circuit de Magny-Cours, the French circuit, one we've only visited once before, an absolutely phenomenal circuit in Season 5, and we're very happy to be going back there again. And then we'll be back to the United Kingdom. Indeed, our 2 visits to the United Kingdom will begin with a visit to the classic of touring car, and that's the Alton Park Circuit, the Island layout on the 17th of September. Then we make our way back to Japan for a second and final visit, the Suzuka International Racing Courses Grand Prix layout on the 24th of September. And then our penultimate round will see us back in the United Kingdom for the Brands Hatch Grand Prix Circuit on the 1st of October. Then we bring it all to a close on a title decider, and that'll be in Brazil at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, but you all know and love it and refer to it as Interlagos, and that will be on the 8th of October to bring the curtain down, and we've still got plenty of racing to come, ladies and gentlemen. But going into tonight, let's give you a recap of the championship standings, and as we can see in the overall Drivers' Championship, it's the one and only Wojciech Swirydowicz, one-time champion from Season 6. He's on course so far to be defending that title, and he's doing absolutely well. With an advantage of points now that extends to the best part of 57 points, he continues to creep away from the chasing pack as led by Mikey Doble. But keep in mind that Doble Sim Racing will not be on the grid for this round, nor next week in round number 5, and it means that today it's an opportunity for Swirydowicz to try and break away even further, but the reverse of the coin is also true. It's an opportunity for many of his chasing rivals to assert their status as the #1 contender to chase him down. The first of which being Adam Delmont on 241 points, but he's only 6 clear of Benjamin McCluskey, and Isaac Doble there sitting at a further, where he's 22 points behind, wraps up the top 5. Jamie Dory sits in P6 and what has been mixed fortunes over the opening 3 rounds and not quite able to have the consistency that he wanted to at Fuji, but still he's looking to bounce back today. Now Lee Horn right on his heels, a further 19 points behind. We are leading prime driving the overall championship, Ben Altrier in P8 on 188 points. He's 6 clear of Adam McNally, and Andrew Pike wrapping up the top 10 on 177 points for the Sim Racing Collective. Bester SP11 having a better run of form at Fuji was Gavin Gardner, now moving into P11 on 166 points, just ahead of Matthew Addy in P12, and it's Luis Pascucci, Alex Meredith and Michael Lisa complete your top 15, with Russell Fowler P16 ahead of Reese Watt. Jonathan Robrex having a good time, indeed the whole Valkyrie X-Type team having a great time out in Fuji, and Robrex being no exception with his brilliant batting for top 5 finishes at Fuji. He's moved up to P18, just ahead of Patrick Falconer by a single point, and Matthew Sheridan completes the top 20. Outside the top 20, P21, it's Sam Van Olst, the Goldwyn Motorsport driver, equal on points versus his teammate Duncan Moraes, but ahead on based on result countback, as we mince our words there. But let's not mince the fact that Joseph Doble in P23 is struggling to break his way into the top 20 this season, but ahead of Liam Silkstone and Nick Clemens, who wraps up the top 25. Andy Fox in P26, not on the grid last time out. We're looking forward to seeing him back on the grid today, potentially, with Slamir Jaworski. Jonathan Collins, your leading AM driver there in P28, and we're on 53 points, equal on points to Sam Bradley. But keep in mind that while Sam Bradley is listed as a prime driver, he is in fact in the AM class. So we'll talk a little bit about some class changes that have occurred as a result of the opening 3 rounds in due course. And then it's Luke Jones who wraps up your top 30 on 52 points. 1 clear James Mazesgal, with Alan McCain a further point behind. And it's 7 points to Vincent Amblair, and the Frenchman not having a good season so far. Indeed, a frustrated season after a phenomenal season opener in Spain, but the last 2 rounds have really not gone his way. But he's ahead of Mark Sykes by 5 points, and it's a further 3 to Piotr Jegosławski. Now Daniel Fritz in P36 ahead of Jake Pitt, with Tom Davidson, Toby Prosser, and what is their Mark Kent complete to your top 40. And outside the top 40, not to be forgotten about, we do have Mitchell West, who had a great run at Fuji, picking up a huge haul of points and some overall points as well. Ian Manners, Roy Plummer, Matt Evans, and Marcel Fritz who complete your top 45. Then we have Costa Chatscontanan to P46, 2 clear of Sam Smith, with Josh Brown, Craig Tillerson, and what is there, Lewis Mason completing your top 50, and Karen Smith P51 there, last but not least, and only 4 points, and behind Lewis Mason based on result countback. But then coming on to the Prime Drivers' Championship, with all the points adjusted based on Prime finishing positions, it is Ben Altrier who leads by none other than what is 18 points over Matthew Addy, and these two continue to battle hard, and Matthew Addy and Alex Meredith are both hot on Altrier's heels. Indeed, when you look at Alex Meredith, given the fact that Fuji is a hunting ground where he's done very well in past seasons, we saw that again in Season 7 as of last week, with Meredith bringing home the lion's share of the points, and he's closed the gap to the top 2. Matthew Sheraton sits in P4, a further 54 points behind, and leads the rest of the field in their chase of the top 3. 5 ahead of Liam Silkstone, with Nick Clemens a further 2 behind. There's Russell Fowler, Andy Fox, Michael Lease, and Sam Van Olst to complete your top 10. But notice there, the run from where it's P4 all the way to P10 is only separated by 21 points. That's how close it is in the battle inside this top 10. And then there's a staggering 40-point gap to Slavomir Jalvosky in P11, moved to the Prime class for the remainder of the season following round number 3. He's gone from the Pros to the Primes, and Vincent Emblair there in P12, a further 18 points behind. With Luke Jones, Sam Bradley and James Mazesgal there completing your top 15, but do keep in mind that Sam Bradley is still in the AM class, and he was switched to Prime, but then it was decided at short notice to move him back to AM due to balancing reasons between the classes. And then in P16, Duncan Reyes there ahead of Jake Pitt, with Alan McCain, Mark Sykes and Tom Davison completing your top 20. Outside the top 20, from the Sim Racing collective driver who made waves at Fuji, we then come to Peter Jagowski, the Semper Racing driver who's always enjoying the racing. It's Toby Prosser, Sam Smith, Ian Manners and Harley Bicknell, who we're going to be seeing on the grid today, yet to debut his way into this season, having raced in part of season 6, but he's going to be on the grid racing in the Prime class, and we look forward to seeing the JW Motorsport driver give it his all. And then coming to the AM class, last but not least, Daniel Fritz leading the field there by 27 points over Mitchell West, with Mitchell West moving into P2 and continuing the fight, albeit he's got Jonathan Collins for company, only 11 points behind. There's a further 2 to Mark Kent and Matt Emmons a further 3 afield. Indeed, look how close it is there in the battle for P2, and the right to take on Fritz, well, that is going to be on the mind of all the drivers. But let's not forget Roy Plummer as well, a further 12 points behind, and then it's a sizable gap to Craig Tillerson, who will be back on the grid today, I do believe, but ahead of Josh Brown there by 24 points. And it's Lewis Mason and Costa Chatscontinentu who complete your top 10, with Kevin Smith P11 on 96 points and yet score any points, Tom Delaney, Mike Kurtler and Gabriel Yilmaz. But then coming on to the Teams Championship, it's Doble Sim Racing who lead the way by 6 points over NXTGEN Pink, indeed leaping ahead for the first time this season, albeit it will be a shortly lived lead in the fact that they're not going to be on the grid for the next 2 rounds and therefore will rule themselves out of the Teams Championship fight to a degree, but NXTGEN Pink will know that they can't take anything for granted because SRO and NXTGEN Gold did have a bit of a slump in performance at Fuji, but it's only a small slump and we expect them to bounce back strongly today, being the best part of 56 points behind. It's then a further 103 to Semper Racing, who are still trying to find their form in this team's championship and knocking on the door of the top 3. And they're ahead of what is some cases for NXTGEN by 57 points. And then JW Motorsport sit P6 in a closely knit battle with Valkyrie X-Type, only what is there 8 points between the two teams. And it's Goldwyn Motorsport, Whiskey Runners Racing and Full Tilt V Motorsport who complete your top 10. And from the 227 points of the UK-based team of Full Tilt V Motorsport, it's then to the 191 of the Sim Racing collective. Andrew Pint leading the way, but of course he does have Tom Davidson now providing him support. And it's Aztec Racing ahead of iRacing Esports, with Performance Link Esports there in P14. Verona Motorsport sits P15 on 17 points, with Mitch West Performance only 2 behind in the battle between the two teams, as they both scored some overall points this season so far. And then we do see NXTGEN Red in P17 ahead of WS Racing Esports, although I believe the points should be the other way round. And it's 287 Motorsport and the private outfit of Andrew Parkin have yet to score any points, P19, P20 respectively. And then going on to our circuit for today then, well of course is the one and only 2019 and modern day Roval for the Charlotte Motor Speedway, located near the town of Concord in Cabarrus County in the US state of North Carolina. Well, thank you to iRacing.com for their brilliant track map that accompanies the fantastic simulator. And as we can see here, this circuit absolutely tricky as it comes, using the majority of the oval, but at the same time as well interspersing 2 major bus stop chicanes, which are turns 15 and 16 right at the end of the lap and midway through a lap at turns 10 through to 12. We'll add to that the infield section, and you can understand here why this circuit is absolutely going to push our drives to the limit. For as they roar the way around here, the one thing that also has to be kept in mind is that walls are close. There are no runoff areas here, and therefore our drivers get it wrong. They'll find themselves very quickly making haste to a concrete wall. But as they roar the way through turn number 1, the sweeping left-hander, what this circuit map does not also emphasise is the amount of elevation change that occurs on the course of the road circuit through turns 1 through to 8, and a good number of these apexes are blind, if not over crests. But as they roar the way over the crest to turn 1 and in towards turn 2, it's then 4 sweeping right-hand corners where they'll be looking to try and hit those late apexes as best as possible, but also keep in mind they're going to be potentially battling too wide and they'll have to give space. But as they exit the infield section, they have to make through the double left complex of turns 7 and 8 in a similar configuration to turns 1 and 2, when it's 2 left-handers with a crest between the two of them, making turn 8 blind. But as they exit out, it's then full throttle all the way through the curvature of 9 and up towards the first of the chicanes at turns 10, 11 and 12, where they've got to be careful of that raised apex curb and not let it push the car out wide. But get it right, they'll then carry the speed for the kink of 13, and onwards they'll go round through 14, in towards the second bus stop chicane of 15 and 16 to complete lap and do it all over again. Now, a quick reminder on our rules. Well, as we can see here, this is a fixed setup series with all setups provided by the NXTGEN Racing Administration team to our drivers ahead of each and every race. And driver classes have now been finalised as of the conclusion of round number 3. And in terms of those class changes, there haven't been many, it should be pointed out. There's been 2 major changes, and that's about it, which is that Russell Fowler has been moved from Pro to Prime, and Slavomir Javoski has also been moved from Pro to Prime. Otherwise, everybody else is staying in their classes. But we do also have some new drivers on the grid, and we did talk a little bit about one earlier, Harley Bicknell, who will be in the Prime class, having been moved up from AM to Prime from Season 6 through to Season 7 based on his performances in the previous season. And we'll also see Dylan Mystery on the grid once again, but staying in the AM class, much like in his debut towards the end of Season 6. But that'll be our classes finalised for the rest of this season, barring any emergencies. And in terms of our grids for today, well, the Race 1 grid shall be set based on results of qualifying, the Race 2 grid based on results of number 1, and meanwhile the Race 3 grid shall be a reverse grid based on results of race number 2, the reversal position being drawn live from the commentary booth between the places of P13 and P23. Indeed, we'll get the NXTGEN Racing Lottery Bowl out and draw 2 balls out of the bowl, and whatever they add to, that's where we reverse the grid from. Now, each driver shall have 1 fast repair available in each race, and each race shall conclude after either the allotted lap amount of 14 laps or 30 minutes, whichever expires first. And of course, if we do need a safety car, we could see the races go up to 30 minutes each. But I have to wait and see whether that does happen. But meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, as we carry on with the rules, we do have an independent race director in place stewarding the races for track limit infringements and deployment of the safety car. Albeit those track limit infringements, I don't think are going to be a concern too much given the walls around the circuit, but the deployment of the safety car will be definitely on the mind of what will be our race director today. And in terms of penalties, track limit infringements shall be penalised, as you can see on screen there. The first and the second warnings, there's no penalty. On the third one, it's a 5-second post-race time penalty. We double it to 10 on the fourth warning, and on the fifth warning, it's a drive-through penalty. And those penalties must be served within 3 laps if it is a drive-through. Meanwhile, racing incidents may be reviewed post-round if they are submitted. But as we can see as well, we continue the theme of success ballast as applied on a race-by-race basis overall, and in the Prime and AM classes. And in qualifying in race number 1, we take the success ballast based on the championship standings going into the round. Races 2 and 3, we update it based on the previous race, and you can see the success balance values on screen there. Albeit we're not going to go through all of them. The ever-present question is, what can stop Wojciech Swirydowicz? Even with that 56.1 kilograms of success ballast, he continues to demonstrate his prowess time and time again, and picking up at least 1 win per round this season so far. But could his run of form potentially break today, or will he continue that tradition? And in the Prime class, of course, we do have the question of what will come and what will be with regards to Ben Altria running all that weight, the 32.5 kilograms. And for Daniel Fritz, continuing to carry 24.5 kilograms, where he's going to feel as though it's a heavy car, but to be fair, he's shown that he can make that weight just all around in that Veloster. And that's enough rules, regulation, everything in between. Let's head back to circuit side, ladies and gentlemen. And as we do, while drivers are all getting themselves set here right at the end of this practice warm-up session. And well, this session, 4 minutes remaining in it, going to run slightly over, albeit a slight delay in getting the practice session underway today. But not to worry about that, and the fact that we are going to have what is plenty of time to see our drivers out there in qualifying, plus also when we do go into race conditions. And I had the opportunity to catch up with a number of our drivers in the build-up to today who were talking to me about the fact that they are really concerned about how close those walls are here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. As we can see that Adam Delmont going very close to the exit one at turn number 1, but again, you've got to run close to those walls in order to be able to carry the best possible at lap speed. But keeping in mind, one small mistake and it can all be over. And the drivers have been given multiple briefings from the stewarding team and indeed the NXTGEN Racing Administration to say they've got to be wary of giving space for each other, and the fact that when an incident does occur, like we're seeing there for the 33, and that's Duncan Ray's losing the rear as he skips sideways going up through what's turn number 6, or you've got to be wary of the fact that if we do start to see yellow flags deployed around the circuit, there's an incident in front, or drivers need to react to those flags as quickly as possible, as otherwise it could be tears for half the pack, if not more, depending on where the accident occurs. But still, with that in mind, also we do know that many are looking forward to plenty of good racing today. And we do say hello there to somebody who is looking forward to tuning into some fantastic racing, and that is none other than Katie Eames in the Facebook chat. And I'm doing good, thank you, Katie. Had a brilliant weekend being in the commentary booth at the Convoy in the Park 2024 at Donington Park, and it's great to be back in the sim racing commentary booth now for the NXTCC. And well, it wouldn't be a Tuesday evening for me if it wasn't one filled with the NXTCC's racing action time and time again. And Katie, of course, wishing the best luck to the Verona Motorsport drivers who are on track today. And whilst Craig Tillerson is not on circuit, I still believe tuning in on holiday, we do have both Matt Emmons and Kevin Smith. And well, here is Matt Emmons, the Rhino Motorsport driver in the number 72, of course, all of Rhino Motorsport in the AM class in their very distinctive liveries. And it's been great to see how they've progressed over the course of the season so far, with both Emmons and also Smith demonstrating race-leading pace in different rounds, albeit misfortune for Emmons in Germany cost him quite dearly when he could have been in course to bring home what might have been a triplet of victories in the AM class. And for Kevin Smith last time as well, it was a similar picture in the fact that things did not go the way he wanted them to. And in fact, Kevin Smith today, going into today and serving a qualifying ban for instant points accrued from Fuji, so therefore you won't see him out on circuit until we go to race 1, and he'll be starting from the back of the grid. But as all drivers do get themselves set and ready to go, well, we also do look to where's Ben Altrier here, and we can see him lifting off as they make their way down into the turn 10 through to 12 chicane. As they come through, where's the left-right-right combination, and then the left-hand king to complete it at 13. Right now, the full tilt personal driver 90. He's going to be at the thick end of the prime class and needs to do everything in order to be able to push forward and push further up the order. As we look to Dimitri Coulon, the driver from Valkyrie X-Lab in the number 77. Good to see him on the grid once again today, the Belgian driver. And had a great debut at Fuji, with no doubt about that, getting some good points on the board and looking forward to delivering plenty more today. Well, Valkyrie X-Lab definitely now finding their form, getting themselves established on this grid, and we look forward to seeing how high they can go as we head towards the tail end of the first half of the season with this round and then Spa-Francorchamps in a week time. As he winds his way on towards the second overbanking part of turn number 14, we'll also say hello there to Sideways Games in the YouTube chat. Good evening to you, Sideways. Hope you're doing well. And we'll also say hello to Elwin Sykes, and he's in the Facebook chat. And I hope you're doing well, Elwin. And of course, Elwin being a driver who's previously raced in some of the NXTGEN series, and at the same time, indeed, I think he was on the grid at one point in the NXTCC. I want to say in seasons 2 and 3. Bit of a cameo in season 3, but definitely the full season of season 2. And he's also been on the grid in our other series, including the GT3 League, to name one of them. And always a lovely person he is, Elwin. But as we do see our drivers making their way towards the end of this practice session, we look to Mark Kent, the fastest AM driver out there, and the full tilt motorsport driver. I think at this point, well, he'll be looking to try and recover what happened in Spain in the season opener, where he put in that absolutely dominant pole lap in Spain in the AM class and was not able to follow that up with any results that resembled that pole lap, and indeed a lot of misfortune beset him in Spain. But today, will the misfortune follow him? Well, it's time to find out, ladies and gentlemen, because it's time for qualifying. As the circuit falls silent for a brief moment, we have 15 minutes of qualifying, and it's go, go, go for all the drivers immediately as they make their way on out here. And well, Sam Bradley being one of the many to be at the front of the field in terms of pulling their way out the pit lane. And as we do look to the blimp camera here, where it's going to be very tight out there on the circuit indeed, with what is the best part of, I do believe, at least 40 cars here today. What is an extensive circuit, 2.28 miles, but those 2.28 miles, if you do the mathematics, it's very little bit of the circuit per driver and car out there, so therefore it is going to be quite compressed, and they're going to need to do their best in order to negotiate each other as they do head into this qualifying session. But what's the form we can expect here in qualifying? And that is perhaps one of the big questions well on the mind. Well, if you cast your mind back to Daytona in Season 6, you may remember there it was all about the double-edged sword, which is in the infield section, you need to nail your apexes, and you need to be able to get back on the throttle as soon as possible for exiting the hairpins or the corners. But Daytona, of course, it was primarily hairpins in the infield section. Here we have sweepers, and therefore you're having to battle constantly against a huge element of understeer, regardless or not of whether you've got success bars in the car. But if you do have success bars, that's going to make that understeer even more painful. But as soon as you get out of the infield section, then you're onto the oval banking, and that's where you need the slipstream of another driver in order to be able to maximise your top end speed as you roar your way around the oval up towards the chicanes, where it's all about being bold on the brakes. So put that all together here, and it means that to deliver a good lap, you've got to have the toe, but you've also got to have the ability to master those miles per hour that you want to carry from apex to apex in the infield. And that's what makes this arguably perhaps the toughest qualifying challenge on the calendar for this season, because it is really a duality in terms of what you're looking for. You're looking to be behind another driver, albeit preferably not too close behind them in the infield section, but you want to definitely pick them up as you go into the oval banking to maximise that speed and therefore minimise the length of the lap. And as we do look to Benjamin McCluskey and plenty of velocity drives out there, McCluskey being one of them in the number 28 for NXTGEN Pink. NXTGEN Pink, of course, 6 times teams champion. Well, not 6 times teams champion. They have been 3 times team champions, if my memory does serve me correctly. And, well, Jamie Dory, their team manager, has been a part of every winning team in the NXTGEN Racing Touring Car Championship since its inception. A 6-time team champion and also a 2-time what is drivers champion overall as well. So Jamie Dory knows what he's on about when he sees his drivers in his team, and here he is in the Hyundai Veloster as he gradually and cautiously makes his way out the pit lane. We've already lost a front bumper there from one driver who I believe has reset to the pit lane. I'm not sure if that was Dylan Mystery or whoever it was, but definitely something missing. But meanwhile, one thing that we were missing in Season 6 was this man for JW Motorsport, and he returns today. He was in the chat last time out at what was Fuji, he couldn't quite race, and well, it's none other than Harley Bicknell as he makes his way on down towards the first of our 2 chicanes and will move from Am to Prime for this season. He put in some absolutely brilliant battles versus Mark Sykes. We never quite got to see that Am Drivers Championship enter into the escalation that we expected, given unfortunately that Bicknell had to retire from the season midway through, and that really released Mark Sykes to run away with the championship, albeit not having it all his way. When he was on form, Mark Sykes really was unstoppable, but we've got Harley Bicknell back here in the Prime class, and he'll be looking to mix it up. And whilst I didn't get the chance to catch up with him in the build-up to today, I get the feeling with his sensible head-on, indeed one of the most sensible drivers on the grid, no doubt about it, his plan today will be just to settle in and make sure not to make any mistakes and take it from there. As he heads in towards turn number 4, coming through the right hand of the Bank of America corners there, in fact through turn number 3 and into 4. Indeed, the quartet of right-handers here, absolutely similar to the Tastel, but you can see the runoff area they're allowed to use on the exit of 4 and use as an entry to 5. As he makes his way on around there, of course, the more of that runoff area you use, which is another one of the situations whereby you want to use the runoff area, but keep in mind that runoff area is nowhere near as grippy as the tarmac, and therefore it means that if you don't quite get it right, you can actually drift further and further wide and out onto that small patch of grass, and that can take you to the barrier. But get it right and you open up the corner even more, and Harley Bicknell demonstrating just how much you can open up the corners and get it absolutely right. As he heads in towards turn number 10, and meanwhile we also look to Lewis Mason, and well, in the Honda Civic Type R, the car that has really proven to be the beast of the grid this season so far. The Honda Hamilton favourable BOP, it would seem, since season 6, and while the Honda Civic Type R has proven itself at the very top end of the field, that's not to say in the midfield, particularly in our lower classes, the Primes and the Ams, it is going to be the dominant car. And we have seen victories taken by all 4 car manufacturers across the classes this season so far, whether it be Audi, also the Hyundai Elantra or the Hyundai Veloster. Well, I should really say 3 car manufacturers, but 4 types of car, you know where I'm coming from. And then, of course, the Japanese Honda Civic here as he makes his way on through. And this Honda Civic gradually being replaced in motorsport by what is the FL5 touring car, albeit we're looking here at the FK8, or what's known more as the FK10. But as he comes down into the braking zone, I believe it's an FK8 chassis that it's based on, and coming out of the left into right and onwards he goes. Right now, Lewis Mason looking absolutely composed. But as we get set for what will be some more flying laps, let's ride on board with Jamie Dory as he takes us round for a flying lap here of the Charlotte circuit. So into turn 1 he goes, braking 100 metres from apex, holding 3rd gear as he makes his way out, now heading over the rise and into left-hander 2, lifting the throttle there, not to pick up any understeer, and into turn number 3, down a gear from 4th to 3rd, just nursing the car into turn 4 apex, lets it drop to 2nd gear, Roy Palmer there stepping aside, and now Dory heading up into turn number 5, back up into 4th gear for a brief moment, then on to what will be a lift and coast into turn number 5, into 6 he goes, dropping 2 gears there, and as he makes his way for the right-hander and now into the left-hand kink here at turn number 7, it's all about balancing the throttle over the crest as he launches his way back out of the infield through avoiding that inside wall, and what a lovely run there from Jamie Dory, all at 3rd, 4th and 2nd gear action for the infield, but now onto the oval banking and just building up the speed, no toe for him, so therefore this is going to feel quite slow compared to the maximum speed he can reach. But keep in mind still he's barrelling towards the bust-up chicane here, was the best part of 135 miles an hour, 5th gear almost a bit ahead of the red line, onto the brakes, drops down to 2nd gear, bounces his way over the apex curves, coming out of 12 into 13 and onto the oval bank he goes. Now it's flat out all the way around to turns 15 and 16 here, staying nice in the centre of the road as he drops it down now to the lowest point of the bank and shortening his run on around. and as he comes up towards turn number 15, keeps it over to the left hand here in order to open up the chicane, going on to the brakes, dropping all the way down to second gear, straight line between the two apexes, a quick short shift to third gear to enable him to get the power down, and that is a lap of the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval, as brought to you by Jamie Dorian. That moves him all the way up to P12 on a 25.970, and I suspect if he is able to find a bit of toe, he'll be looking to push into the top 10. Keep in mind, of course, that he does have quite considerable success balance in the car, and that will also be impacted in. As we do say hello to Luke Jones there in the YouTube chat with Jones_86, who's cheered on the fact that Harley Bicknell is back at the grid. Also to Handsome Stu there, and good evening to Handsome Stu, looking good as always, I presume. And well, not familiar with the track, Handsome Stu says, but looks good, and he reckons, and this is Andrew Pike from the Sim Racing Collective, who he's been talking to, or Fish, reckons it has the potential to be chaos. Indeed, if we do see a car end up in the wall, well, then all drivers will have to do their best to avoid careening into it. But to be fair, we've gone to some venues before, such as Sandown, where we had concerns about what would happen with the racing, and it's all worked out a-okay. So hopefully here at Charlotte Motor Speedway today, it's all going to work out the same. As we look to Loris Pascucci right now down in P14, and the Valkyrie Exo driver continues to make some progress as he heads on through turn number 4 in towards 5-6. Albeit I think he'll be keen to try and get his way into the top 10, but given how close it is to be inside that top 10 at the moment, well, you can imagine that all the drivers are very eager to break their way in, but it's going to be only 10 drivers who can make it in there. Indeed, all of them waiting to see who it's going to be. But interestingly, for the first time this season so far, albeit we have 7 minutes to go in this qualifying session, plus the overtime for our drivers' final laps, it's the first time we've ever seen a very short window from which it goes from pole position to a position where we do have a second difference between the pole lap and then said lap. And whereas it's normally outside the top 20, we can normally say it's a second's difference between pole position and said driver. Well, today, so far, it's all the way down to P12 with Michael Lees being almost a whole second of the Wojciech Swirydowicz's provisional pole time. And here is the defending champion, as you can see him, currently the fastest man out there by a huge margin of almost half a second. Well, he must have found something special that nobody else has been able to find. We'd be very happy with that for the simple reason he's absolutely nailed it. And well, for Wojciech Swirydowicz, if things stay as they are, I think for him, he's going to be rubbing his hands together and thinking, you know what, I've done exactly what's needed, and I've done it nice and early as he's on an outlap here. And well, he's put a new set of tyres on the car. He's kept the fuel, I believe, as low as possible. And therefore, now with the success balance in the car, his mindset's going to turn to one thing and one thing only, and that's seeing if he can raise the bar on this pole lap even further and try to push it to the absolute limit. But still, time will tell as Andrew Pike, meanwhile, moves his way up into what is their P5 on a 25.555, and a big fan of the number 5. We've seen his qualifying lap so far, but holding P5, he is still almost 8 tenths off Swirydowicz's pole lap, but only what is less than 200ths of a Ben Altria's P4 lap. Speaking of prime drivers, well, Matthew Sheraton right now, and he does find the back there where it's Harley Bicknell by the looks of things. But Matthew Sheraton is the fastest of your primes, P3 overall, and well, the Aztec Racing the Landry, we hear a bit of a shunt for a driver towards the barrier, and I think somebody getting it quite wrong and grinding up against the barrier of turn number 8 on the exit. We didn't quite see who that happened to, but we did hear the noise there of some crunching machinery as he makes his way on through turn number 9 right now. Matthew Sheraton, I don't believe he's ever taken a pole lap in the Prime class from what I recall in his previous seasons, so he could be doing a first for himself here. He's come close to it a number of times, but I'm not sure if he ever has. Of course, he's one of a number of Prime drivers who has taken an overall win, and many of you remember from Season 5, the race 3 win at Japan Wojciech in Japan, in that absolutely legendary amount of defensive work that he put on. When he heads on towards the timeline here, he's going to be feeling as though he once again embody that legendary spirit from Japan a couple of seasons ago and see if he can raise the bar even higher. But with the best part of what is a 10th between himself and Ben Altria, that's quite a sizable margin. He doesn't quite improve then. Andrew Pike slicing himself in between the two of them. As we do say hello there to Jonathan Goulet in the Twitch chat, who's cheering on Valkyrie X5. And we're speaking of Valkyrie X5, as all of our drivers continue to try and push further and further on, we do look back to Loris Pascucci, who are leaving the pit lane here now, going on to his outlap. The idea behind this, of course, will be that he'll look to try and get as much tyre temperature as soon as possible and then go on the attack. As Adam Delmont, meanwhile, for SO NXTGEN Gold, well, he's just gone P2 on what was a strong lap. He went purple in Sector 1, So Adam Delmont right now could be responding, albeit I believe it's an invalidated lap for a degree of track limit as he flashes headlights there. I don't know if he knows he's on camera. Alternatively, he thinks he might be coming up behind some traffic in front of him. I suspect it might be the former rather than the latter at this point, as he makes his way on around for turns 5 and 6. Adam Delmont right now, I think, finds himself in the zone, and if he can find a little bit more time, he may just be able to strike a candle to Swirydowicz's absolutely sensational pole lap that he's yet to improve upon. As he heads on around. Meanwhile, the big question is, what about the AM class? Well, here's your AM positive. He's sat in the pit lane. I think he feels as though he's done the job. He's P21 overall, and well, an absolutely brilliant lap from Mark Kent at 126.09 to nearest 100. And meanwhile, his closest rival is down at P27, currently below the blue line, just taking it nice and easy to get out of everybody's way. And this is none other than Matt Evans, who's making his way up towards the pit lane here, taking it nice and easy. In he comes, and well, for Evans, I think they're going to do a change of tyres to the car and see what they can do. We've only got, by the time he leaves the pit lane, 2 minutes left in this session, but still the Verano Motorsport driver ahead of Sam Bradley by what is there, a tenth and a half, so he'll be happy with that. And when I did catch up with Sam Bradley in the build-up today, back in the AM class, of course, after his brief movement to the Pro-Am class between round 3 and 4, and then being moved back as it was reconsidered by our stewards, where it was decided in the end that Sam Bradley would be more appropriate in the AM class, given it's his debut season and also the run of his performances in his first 3 rounds. Somebody who is very new to the world of sim racing, it should be pointed out, and well, indeed, having to learn each and every circuit each week on the simulator, and well, learning Charlotte Motor Speedway. He was saying to me about the fact that he expects this is going to be a very difficult one given the proximity to the walls and the fact this circuit just doesn't seem to offer the grip that most circuits would do otherwise that he's raced at so far, and therefore it is going to be on his mind that he'll be looking to just try and keep it out the walls, keep it safe, keep it clean. But indeed, I think many of our drivers will be embodying that mentality, but that could take them a long way. And as we do look to what is their Marcel Fritsch, the pro driver down in P26 at the moment, a challenging season so far for the WS Racing esports driver, but always enjoying his racing all the same, with 1.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. And we'll look forward to seeing what he can do in the Hyundai Veloster. And a man of many disciplines. Indeed, he's raced in Porsche Cup Series, now racing the Touring Car Racing Car Series, and we're all the happier to see him on the grid for what is his 3rd season in the NXTCC. And well, he's not had any huge performances compared to some of his rivals, but the fact he continues on and continues to have a smile on his face, that's always a great thing to see, no doubt about it. But meanwhile, as the number 27 driver makes his way through turn number 1, we look back towards the sharp end of the field, and we're improvements for both Adam Delmont and Benjamin McCluskey. And well, McCluskey moves into P3, half a second off Swirydowicz's pole time, but it's Adam Delmont who is the man on a mission right now, and well, indeed, currently P2 at this time, and I think feeling as though that he can go a little bit further. He needs to find a temp, and I suspect he will squeeze in one more lap. It'll be very close if he's able to do so. In fact, I don't think he will, but Swirydowicz is responding. He's gone purple in the final sector, but Swirydowicz has not found that time, and indeed stays P1 on what is a 24.778, but he knows he's got more time out there, but he's got a lot of traffic in front of him as he looks to try and part the seas around the cars in front. He'll dive to the inside there of what is the Aztec Racing AM Audi, and I believe that might be from Aztec Racing, none other than what is, unless I'm very much mistaken, I think that is, well, it's not that, that's not Lewis Mason, I should point out. Indeed, I can't quite discern who that is upon reflection, but in fact I think that might have been James Smassersgal running. That's still a mystery. Let's correct ourselves there. In fact, there you can see the cameraman focuses to Dylan Mystery now as we get it right. And Mystery absolutely there in a bit of a tough situation. No lap on the board either as he makes what is his debut here today for Season 7, albeit on the grid as we said towards the end of Season 6 for a couple of rounds. But here now really embarking on what will be an almost full season, but no lap to his name, and therefore it will be based on when he did come across the timeline for the first time that he will be upgraded, and the same for Costa Constantino at this time, who's not got a lap of the board. But meanwhile, leaving it right to the end, Dimitri Coulon, who goes P3 and swipes back Pro-Am pole position. That's provisional, of course, at a 25.025, an incredible lap there for Dimitri Coulon. Now, is it enough to strike a match versus what is Matthew Sheraton and also Ben Altrier, Tom Davidson and Michael Lees? I get the feeling it might be. Is anybody else improving out there? Well, Andy Fox comes to the line. What does he do? He does not improve. He stays P21. Tom Davidson moves up to P5 off camera, and here he is. He heads into turn number 1. So Davidson finding some time out there. And what about Matthew Sheraton? Well, he's about to come to the end of his lap. Wojciech Swirydowicz has not improved. As I look at my commentator booth window, Alex Meredith in P13 has improved, albeit moving up a couple of places. Into the pits comes Matthew Sheraton, so he decides to throw in the towel. Ben Trier's in. Michael Lees is going slowly in the JW Motorsport Elantra. Well, that is prime qualifying complete, and Dimitri Coulon has literally landed his first pole position of his NXTCC career in the prime class, as Wojciech Swirydowicz is going to take his overall pole. And meanwhile, in the AM class, it's Mark Kent who has taken pole by looks of things, P24, by the best part of 5 places over Mitchell West, who's crept into P29 right at the end there, and Jonathan Collins as well in P31, with Matt Emmons down to P33. Well, as we do see Collins cooling down, it's been a late set of changes in this qualifying session if you're in the prime class. Elsewhere, however, everything's been rather static since the opening 7 minutes, and well, given the fact our top 10 is interspersed with pros and pro-ams, and of course you can tell the different colorations there in terms of the class in the time out. Green is for pro, meanwhile what is pink-purple is for pro-am, and blue is for am. But indeed, what a qualifying session, ladies and gentlemen, and without further ado, it's time for us to head to the grid for our first race of the day. But as our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for race number 1. Wojciech Swirydowicz lines up on pole position, joined on the front row by Adam Delmon. Row 2 will go to your prime pole sitter of Dimitri Coulon, the Valkyrie Excite driver being joined by Benjamin McCluskey, and it's Tom Davison who starts P5 ahead of Matthew Sheraton. P7 and P8 will go to Gavin Garner and Andrew Pike, with the top 10 being rounded off by Michael Lees and Ben Trier, and then behind them on the grid starting P11 and 12 it will be Liam Silkstone and Sam Smith. Then looking to behind them on row number 7, it's Alex Meredith and Reese Watt, with row number 8 being led by Adam McNally and joined by Russell Fowler. Row 9 will go to Jamie Dory and Toby Prosser, with your top 20 being completed by Piotr Jegoslewski and Lee Horn. Andy Fox starts P21 ahead of Luis Pascucci, with P23 going to Ian Manners and P24 at the back end of row number 12 going to am pole sitter of Mark Kent. We'll then see behind them, and indeed further behind the chicane, on row number 13, Alan McCain and Sam Van Olst, with Harley Bicknell on row number 14 and being joined by Marcel Fridge, and then the top 30 being completed by Mitchell West for Mitchell West Performance and Nick Clibbins. Jonathan Collins starts P31 ahead of Mark Sykes, with row number 17 going to Matt Emmons and Matthew Addy. From the two Matthews, it's Sam Bradley and Daniel Fritz on row number 18. And then row number 19 will go to Duncan Rays and James Smazesgal, followed up by Jake Pitt and Slamage Arvoski to complete your top 40 in a difficult qualifying session there for the Semper Racing driver. Ray Plummer starts P41 ahead of Lewis Mason, with Dylan Mystery being the final driver who got a qualifying time on the board, P43. And the Aztec Racing driver will be joined by Verona Motorsports' Kevin Smith, I believe, P44, within Costa Chats Continentino starting P45 and completing that grid order. Now, we had to give you a quick rundown through the grid, ladies and gentlemen, just because the software we normally use to hold the grid in place and give you the full rundown and talk about all the teams and their potential fortunes, unfortunately that software not quite working today, so therefore we've done a quick grid walk. But it does mean now we are only approximately what will be 5 seconds away before seeing the lights go on for the first time today. And when they do, will it be this man, Wojciech Swirydowicz, or Adam Delmon, who leads into turn number 2? Well, here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time at Charlotte, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for our first ever NXTCC race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And as they make their way into turn 1, will Swirydowicz having to cover off Delmon, who immediately goes on the offensive. But they are going to stay as they were. Dimitri Coulon, meanwhile, gets a brilliant run and holds on to P4, all being leapfrogged by Benjamin McCluskey to a degree. But they've all about survived it so far, as meanwhile we've had a couple of drivers get it slightly sideways coming on through. One driver to the grass there. Oh, goodness me. And it's all kicked off, but they seem to, for the most part, be able to stabilise as they head through turns 2 and 3, albeit there we have got a bit of a free wide, and that is Jamie Dory being involved in a bit of a back and forth tussle with one of the Aztec Racing cars. And also there, I think I can see a JW Motorsport Audi falling into the clutches. That's Reese Watt, and meanwhile there's a bit of contact there to the rear of the Golden Motorsport car, and that is Luis Pascucci, who gets caught out. Everyone piles into the scene of the incident, and well, a couple of cars there also making contact with Valkyrie X-Lap's driver as the Seagulls take a look at the view in action. And as they head through turn 6 in towards 7, well, for the most part the circuit has been clear, but Luis Pascucci's race is going to be practically over there. They'll have to come into the pits for repair work, but as they make the way on through back onto what is the oval, Already we look back towards your leader here, and well, Wojciech Swirydowicz, after what has been only just shy of 1 lap, well, he's leading at the moment with 4 attempts to Adam Delmont behind, and they make the way on around it to complete lap shortly, albeit not without a visit to the second of our chicanes. But coming down to the race, Gavin Gone a little bit further behind, chasing after Dimitri Coulon, looking to try and make an ingress here and try to take P4 overall. Remembering, of course, these pro drivers only score overall finishing points, they don't score class points, and well, the overall points are scored all the way from the win down to P15, as we have got a multitude of drivers coming into the pits for repair work, including Michael Lees, Reese Watt, Marcel Fritz, just named 3 of them as I look at my commentary booth window. I think there's going to be plenty more making that journey into the pit lane in due course. As meanwhile, we've got battling here between Liam Silkstone and Piotr Jegoslecki. Jegoslecki gets ahead for P8 in the Pro-Am class, and Silkstone with damage on the front of the car. Now explain why he's falling back. He hasn't got the speed and necessarily the handling that he would like. Alan McCain looks up the inside, lovely move there from the RS Esports driver to go all in as they head in towards turn number 5. William Manners also thinking about it, but doesn't get a blaze. Indeed has to wait his turn, as then we do have what is the AM lead battle here of Jonathan Collins, Matt Evans and Sam Bradley. And Matt Evans having a brilliant start to this race, moving all the way up into P2 in the AM class, having started in what was P4 in the class. He's got Sam Bradley right behind him, and well, these two making progress, and Jonathan Collins meanwhile also making progress, as it all went so very, very wrong from what was our AM pole sitter. And indeed our AM pole sitter falling a long way down the order. Mark Kent, who's just had no luck once again, having started on pole, fallen all the way to P40 and being involved in those opening lap altercations, I should say, and then an indication of how his day will go, but he'll look to subvert that as soon as humanly possible. But meanwhile, we look back to what is a little bit further up the road, and this is the fight between Lewis Mason and behind him Dylan Mystery. The 2 AM drivers fighting for P7 for Aztec Racing, albeit here Mason right now chasing after Kevin Smith as they make the way on over the banking of the second part of this lap. And Will Smith going quite high there. It's going to cost him a lot of time by going high. He's going to have made that corner a lot longer than he needed to. Liam Silkstone and Matt Evans both into the pits. Ben Altriers also had to jump to the pits. And as they come to the end of lap number 2, no change between these drivers, albeit for now. And as they head across the timeline, we look back up into what is the top 15, as this is Toby Prosser with Piotr Jegoslecki right behind him. And Will Prosser right now trying to hold on for P6 in the Pro-Am class, P14 overall, so class and overall points available to him. Goes very wide down the road into 5. That's going to be a look up the inside of Jegoslecki, but in the end, the Semper Racing driver just backing out of it in the nick of time. Otherwise, they could have both gone round. And Will Prosser right now, as he comes through turn number 8, will know huge pressure on him. And right now, Jegoslecki, it has to be said, is enjoying one of his finest opening races of what is a race night, for the simple reason he's picked up multiple places so far. And Jegoslecki absolutely on the attack. But speaking of another driver who's on the attack, well, Sam Van Olsen's just up the road, and we'll talk more about him very shortly as they head in towards turns 10 through to 13. Through the left and right, they go, oh, goodness me, Jegoslecki taking too much apex curve. Prosser grinds against the wall, but Jegoslecki there almost rolling the car over. Indeed, going up in 2 wheels and losing control as he dropped back down to suspension. And here comes Alan McCain as he tries to look around the outside of the Polishman. And well, the Briton right now will feel as though he's got the momentum, but he hasn't got the overall speed to make this work. And Jegoslecki once again holding position there in P15, the last of the overall points paying positions, and what will be some good team points. All been saying that, McCain gets the better run out of the chicane. Into turn 1 they go on the inside. It's too wide on through, and it's gone very wrong there as the two come into contact. And there's a precise example of needing to give space. All the field makes its way into the corner, but thankfully they will have yellow flags waving, and they'll all take evasive action as Jegoslecki tries to now clear the instant to enable McCain to potentially be able to move the car. And well, that's disaster for McCain. That might be his race over, as Jegoslecki is going to try and just simply take the car back to the pit lane. But meanwhile, from them, we look back up to the front of the field, and the Semper Racing driver Swirydowicz here, we're right now leading, but only by 2.5 tenths. And well, the concern might have been from some of you in the respective chats, would Swirydowicz just run away with that lead after what was the open lap? Well, not so, and Delmont staying with him. Dimitri Coulon as well, the leading Pro-Am drivers in P3 there, the Valkyrie Excite Veloster, doing a fantastic job staying right with him as they make the way on through turn number 13, roaring the way and around through 14 as well. And well, as we say hello to Kerr Worry in the YouTube chat, talking about the misfortune that's occurred for what is Mark Kent, where it's all gone wrong for him before he even got to complete a lap. And we'll very shortly we'll take a look back at that race start and articulate what exactly happened to Mark Kent, because it did seem as though he had one of the worst starts of anybody. And well, in fact, we can give you the replay, ladies and gentlemen, and here it is. This was the race start from on board Mark Kent's perspective, having qualified so well, put himself on pole in the AM class. Now, of course, keeping in mind that over half the field started in or behind what was the last chicane, but Ken having a brilliant start, makes his way to the timeline, and will feeling safe initially into turn number 1. And we'll chase after them one of the JW Motorsport Velocities. Up his inside, however, came Alan McCain as I head into turn 1. Given the space, however, to be able to run. That was also a Goldwing Motorsport car coming through. And then already we can see an instant starting to come in front. Now Ken here, and everyone's starting to break up. And, well, everyone being a bit sensitive here. Ken deciding now to get into the weeds of where everyone's trying to check up on what's going on. And Ken on the outside here makes way for the right-hander. On his left-hand side is the iRacing Sports Honda. And there's where the initial contact goes. And in the end, a tiny tap from the iRacing Esports Honda. And that sent him around. And, well, we believe that was the car in Nick Clemens and Mark Kent's race from that point onwards. After safely making it through the opening half of the infield section, it all went wrong from there and having to fall back down the order and then getting into the scenes of further battling. But we must return to your live racing pictures, ladies and gentlemen, as we head on to lap number 6 in very short notice. And well, as we're about to reach the halfway point of this race, we can see Swirydowicz still leading, albeit more work to do. But speaking of work that's been done as they make the way on through, this is James Smazersgau, who looks to be holding the entire mid-pack behind him, as that is a wounded Sim Racing collector car there. Tom Davidson missed its front bumper and plentiful. That's the front bumper that we could see. I think Davidson was the driver who ended up in the wall coming out of turn 2 into 3 on the open lap. But Smazersgau right now trying to keep everybody behind him. And here's the big AM scramble as they head in towards the bus stop chicane. Onto the brakes they go, right into left. And Jonathan Collins right now battling with Sam Bradley, the 2 AM leaders who've got Davidson and Pitt behind them, 2 Pro-Ams. But look at that, that's the entire AM pack almost queuing up behind as well. As they make way for a left-hander, Collins then Bradley into the wall. Oh, goodness me. And well, again, turn 1 claim multiple drives. Everyone immediately reacts as best they possibly can. But Collins has gone around and they're beached with what is the car on none other than Jake Pitt. Well, that is going to release Daniel Fritz back into the lead of the AM class after losing it on the opening lap. And well, meanwhile, in all of this, it's absolute madness in the fact that Kostachats Continental battling there with Lewis Mason. Well, the 287 Motorsport tries now to P3 in the AM class with the company of Mason behind them. Matt Emmons not too far off the back of them. And Roy Plummer in all this is running P2 in AM. Well, would you believe it right now? Everything's been turned completely topsy-turvy in the AM class. And well, you love to see it to a point, albeit you don't like to see it come at the demise of some of the other drivers in the class. But when it becomes a dismal day for some, it's an opportunity for others to make progress. And well, these guys wasting no time. Speaking of which, as we ride on board, looking over the top of Matt Emmons' car, the number 72 for Rhino Motorsport. The Honda Civic here looking to the inside, going low, but keeping 2 wheels above the blue line as per the rules and regulations. And onto the brakes they go, 2 wide into the chicane. And we'll get ahead there as Mason backs out on that outside line. And Emmons being very decisive there. Lovely move from Matt Emmons and gaining another place. That moves up to P4 in AM. His next target will be Kostachats Continental, who's only 7 tenths up the road. And the Rhino Motorsport driver here getting his teeth tucked into this one. As also the same can be said for Kevin Smith, who is up in the P6 in the AM class, having had that back of the field start. And well, the same for Jackson Continental as well. Both of them having a good start to their racing, and we'll be hoping for plenty more before this is all said and done. As Mark cycles into the pit lane, damage on the Audi, we believe, and therefore his race has come to an abrupt halt. But meanwhile, speaking of races, they're absolutely entering full swing. This is Andy Fox for riding on board with us. We can see there Toby Prosser and Sam Vanol's fighting hard. Now keep in mind that both Fox and what is Vanol's, the 2 Goldwing Motorsport drivers, have made some of the biggest gains in the prime field, both overall and in class. We're not quite the same as Mafiati and James Smazersgau, but coming close. And as they head in towards turns 10 through to 13, we can see there Fox just very tentative on the run through the chicane, making sure not to mount the curbs too high. Doesn't want to put the car on 2 wheels as Benjamin McCluskey is into the pit lane, I believe, with damage to the car. But hold the fort here, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, battle for the lead, and there's a missing front bumper. What has happened to Wojciech Swirydowicz's car? He's missing the front bumper there, and it's all happened off camera. But Adam Delmont takes the lead of this race, and well, we haven't had anything with regards to an actual shunt or crash come through our ears with regards to Swirydowicz. Perhaps there's a bit of traffic they may have had an altercation with. Alternatively, he's just run wide and clipped a barrier. But either way, Adam Delmont, in a surprise turn of events, takes the lead. And well, right now, the SRL NXTGEN Gold driver, he's going to have to try and hold on. Now, keep in mind, that Swirydowicz has got a car that's just got aerodynamic damage. He'll lose some speed in his own run on the straight, but in the Tari, he'll be able to stay with Delmont to a degree. So therefore, Delmont's not going to have it easy here all the way KTM, but this first race at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Roval is definitely catching many a driver out, but those who are avoiding the walls and steering clear of the danger are definitely enjoying some very solid performances so far. Then again, let's not put the commentator's curse on them, and as they make their way into what is the back chicane, as they make their way from turns 10 through to 13, Andy Fox still battling here, picking his way past Lee Horn. Samuel's trying to do the same. Horn comes down off the high line, and well, I think Vanol's had a bit of a heart attack behind the wheel in terms of thinking his nose was going to be cut off, but they make their way into the chicane. Vanol's absolutely trying to make Lee Horn give in, but not to be, as Swirydowicz is into the pit lane, and Swirydowicz is going to go all the way down the order. And well, I cannot remember the last time we have seen Swirydowicz finish outside the top 10 in race 1 of a given night of racing ever since he's joined the NXTCC. And well, this is definitely going to be an evening where Swirydowicz is going to be put under a lot of testing pressure as the field continues to make its way through, albeit keep in mind he is making his way down. He will have the fast repair to use, so it'll be a very quick repair and he'll leave the pit lane, but this is going to put him outside the top 10, and well, now he's got to try and fight his way back into it over this race and of course our other 2 races of the day. But meanwhile, from there we look to Lewis Mason, who's had a slow run through the back chicane, and as he makes his way on through turn number 14, that's Chats Continental going high, looking to go around. But the thing is, when you do go high, unless you've got a major overspeed here, you are going for a wider circumference, or in short English, you're taking a longer distance to the next corner, and Chats Continental not able to carry enough speed to go all the way around before the chicane. As they go right into left here, well, behind him, that is going to be what is, I do believe, the car that's a lap down, Slamir Jarvosky trying to unlap itself, as Mark Kent also on the back of the battle here with Kevin Smith. That's also Piotr Jegoslecki, who's trying to fight his way in, looking around the outside of Jegoslecki. That's bold, that's going to take him very wide, and just missing the wall there. I don't know how Jegoslecki got that start, but 2 by 2 they go through turn 2 into 3. Brilliant to see, but here comes Kent. He looks from one side to the other. Teammate Altria behind, a little bit of tap there to the side of Smith's car, albeit I think Kent 9, he should have perhaps backed out a little bit more there, and he's got his teammate crowding behind him, but Altria being a lap down, I don't think we want to interrupt this battle at all, and know that in doing so he could compromise his own teammates' run and recovering some places. We're coming through turn 6 in towards 7, absolutely tight as they come here as we ride on board with the number 94 and the full Tilby Motorsport car right now, absolutely harassing and hounding the back of the Runner Motorsport Honda, but just not able to find its way through. Keeping in mind, of course, that Ken with that pole lap, we know he's perhaps got the fastest pace of any of our AMs here today over a single lap, but how hard has he had to push this car in terms of having to recover it after what happened at the start of the race and all that damage. We'll get very close to the rear there of Smith's car, and well, braking a little bit later than Smith, no doubt about it, tapping the rear of the Runner Motorsport Honda, and well, things are getting very edgy between these 2 right now. And I think Ken having to be wary of the fact that Smith may not be as bold on the brakes by comparison. I mean, that's all part of these 2 are learning to race around one another, and it's all part of being an AM driver in terms of learning the ins and outs of your peers and gradually rising up through the ranks. But speaking of rising back up through the ranks, here's Wojciech Swirydowicz. He's already cleared 2. He's got himself back past Lee Hall and Andy Fox in very quick succession, and he's now on the back of Toby Prosser, and Prosser, meanwhile, running in P9 overall. Well, this could be his best ever performance overall, and also in the Prime class, because he is P5 in class right now, and I don't think he's going to quite believe it when it happens, if it happens. And Savanos as well with 11 places gained for the Prime class, having started all the way down in what was P26. Well, both Van Olst and Prosser have both had absolutely brilliant drives here in this race, albeit you could say they've been fortunate to be able to steer clear of all the danger on the open laps and therefore benefit from it, but that's a skill in of itself, to be fair, staying out of trouble. And as Andy Fox comes into the pit lane where I suspect damage on the car, well, we head on to lap number 11 for our lead lap drivers, and right now it is all to play for whichever way you look inside this top 10, and particularly if you're looking towards the bottom end of it. But as Swirydowicz looking for the move there in towards turn number 3, and absolutely on a mission to try and pick up some more places. 9, he wants every point he can, and well, good exit there out of turn number 4 with Prosser going a little bit wide, and the Honda makes another place with the number 1 on its side, and he's going for number 1 in each and every race, no doubt about it, and being made to work the margins like no other as he heads in towards turn number 7 through the first of the double lefts here. And as he tries to close up to Sam Van Olst, well, now he's going to have a very different challenge to deal with in the fact that Audi very very fast on the oval banking. It is the fastest of our machines here in terms of in a straight line and getting up through those gears and into top gear. The Honda lacks the top end speed by comparison. But the one thing that Swirydowicz does have here is the toe of that Audi, and therefore that is going to enable him to gradually pull closer. And will, as we head into the first of the 2 chicanes on the lap, this is where he'll look to try and close the delta, and does so immediately. And Renault's now will know that Honda is looking more and more menacing in his rear view mirror as they power the way on around, albeit the German mark being driven by the driver from Belgium. Well, the Goldwing Motorsport driver will just simply keep his head down, knowing that after this lap there's 3 more to go as our leaders are already on to lap number 12. But Swirydowicz there, you can see just under braking how much time he takes out of his rivals. Going into turn number 1, will he duck to the inside? No, he won't. He's going to try and find it on the infield once they get through turns 3 through to 6. Will he try and go for a similar move to Prosser? Well, here we go then as they come through 2 in towards 3. Will the door be open from 3 to 4? Vanol's comes through, goes a little bit wide, but Swirydowicz not quite able to capitalise there. But Vanol's struggling in these loaded right-handers. But the Audi, look at the acceleration as he gets traction out of 4. That is where he's just able to make sure that Swirydowicz can't immediately come through, and that's the difference between the 2 machines. They head in towards the oval section once again, but we will stay with them here as they clear turn 7 in towards 8. The unsighted rise will head to 8, and Vanol's goes very wide there, but as they exit out now it's going to be a drag race, albeit Swirydowicz going low. He has a shorter run round. In fact, Swirydowicz will get his position, as meanwhile going slow, that's Alex Meredith who's just crawling along, and I think Meredith has got damage on the front right hand side. You can see there the car leaning. Indeed, the suspension has collapsed on the front line side. It's drama for Alex Meredith, and I believe the walls may have caught him out on the exit at turn number 8. He's just trying to get it home for Whiskey Runners Racing, and well, in all of this, well, more drama to play, of course, and the fact that with Swirydowicz falling down the order, Adam Delman is your overall leader. Your prime leader, Dimitri Coulon, is P2 overall, and then you've got Gavin Garner P3 off camera, but this is P4. Your second place prime driver, Matthew Sheraton, with Andrew Pike right on his heels as they come through turn number 1. Well, it's absolutely crazy out there, and well, with the unpredictability, I don't want to say that anything's guaranteed here, because I suspect we could be seeing more drama before this race is said and done. But in terms of the battles, we look at the battle for P4 for this moment, and we shortly then cut to the battle all the way a lap down. But this is just important. This is the battle for P8 in the AM class, and the reason it's important because we're looking at 2 drivers who are inside the top 5 of the AM Championship, both well out of position. Jonathan Collins and Sam Bradley, they're a lap down battling for P36 overall, but for P8 in the AM class, and some important points here to start off their day as best they possibly can do so. As meanwhile, Lewis Mason under pressure from Piotr Jegorzelewski as they come around the bank in there of what is turn number 14 into 15-16 they go, and will no move there coming from Jegorzelewski, just having to wait his turn. Stomach Jaworski in front, a lap down, struggling with the balance of the car, and Alex Meredith has left is in the pit lane at the moment, having repair work done to the car as a dive to the inside from Jegorzelewski and takes the place of Mason. But meanwhile, we look to your race leader. He holds a 1 second gap over Dimitri Coulon, and this is Adam Delman, the SO NXTGEN Gold driver, continuing to extract the lead and just put out a little more of the white flag waves. And as he heads in towards turn 1, he knows he's only got to do 1 more tour here in order to bring home the first victory of the day. And Dimitri Coulon, whilst he would love to take an overall win, and indeed he would be the first ever, in fact he'd be the second ever, I should say, given Alex Meredith's performances at Fuji, but he would be the second ever driver in the prime class to take an oval victory in the opening race of the day. For the Belgian driver here right now, I think he'll be more than happy just to take P2 oval and with it the prime class win, giving it be his first ever prime win, his first ever overall podium to go with it. And that is a story in his first ever season, the NXTCC, which he can tell his teammates time and time again. As he heads up through turn number 8, still more to come. As meanwhile, Liam Silkstone here battling with Tom Davidson. Davidson missing the front bumper and some other parts there on the front of that. Veloster under braking they go, and the Sim Racing Collective Veloster holding on for now as they come through the left-handers. And well, it's Davidson who's under pressure, but he doesn't seem to be wanting to give in at all versus Silkstone. But as they come on through turn 3, you can see there the damage on the car causing it to go wide, and Davidson really struggling these right-handers, of which there are plenty at this circuit. He's going to turn his way through as they head in towards the next set of right-handers. Turns 5 and 6, Silkstone there to attack, looks up the inside, goes all in, and has to back out there. But meanwhile, speaking of a driver who's not going to be backing out, as he comes to the last 2 quarters to take the first victory of the day here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Adam Delman takes the checker flag for SO NXTGEN Gold overall. and behind him is your prime winner. Second place overall as he dances his way into turn 1. Enjoy. It's Valkyrie X-Lax Dimitri Coulon with Gavin Gardner making a return to the overall podium. His first overall podium of the season. P3 for Next Gen Pink. Andrew Pike comes through P4 ahead of Adam McNally with Matthew Cheverton, your runner-up in the prime class. P6 for Aztec Racing. Wojciech Swirydowicz doing incredibly well to recover to P7 for Semper Racing ahead of Toby Prosser, who takes his first ever prime podium and his first ever overall top 10 for Aztec Racing with that P8. And then Lee Horn and Benjamin McCuskey complete your top 10. Daniel Fritz, meanwhile, here he is in P18 at the moment. The Whiskey Runners Racing driver, we've barreling his way around with a 7-second gap over Matt Emmons. And well, despite qualifying not working out the way he wanted it to, Daniel Fritz Whiskey Runners Racing is going to continue a run of victories for the team as he crosses the line there. P18 overall, but more importantly, your AM winner. But let's not forget, as meanwhile, Matt Emmons, I think he's been pushed to the wall right on the exit of the final corner, but still the runner motorsport driver will take P21 and with its second place in the AM class. And then Roy Plummer in a battle here right at the end with Lewis Mason. Mason cuts the chicane, and that will confirm that Roy Plummer will take another AM podium. Third place in the AM class, his second ever AM podium, and the Next Gen Red driver will be absolutely ecstatic with that to fend off his rivals at P25. Well, what a drive from him to avoid all the danger and bring it on home. And well, Michael Lees comes to the line, as does Sam Vidals, and that completes all of our finishes, ladies and gentlemen, and what has been an absolutely crazy race here in the US of A. And well, those results are in, but as our drivers cool it on down, well, we've already got your leader coming down the pit lane, and Adam Delmont, well, what a drive. Did not succumb to the pressure from behind, kept the pressure on Swirydowicz in front, and in the end, that's what gave him the opportunity to take victories. Dimitri Coulon behind him as well, after a brilliant late qualifying lap to take prime pole and put himself inside the top 5. The Valkyrie X-Lax driver doing nothing wrong to take his first ever prime win, and Gavin Gardner there just behind, rounding off that top 3 for the drivers. But meanwhile, as we can see there, the Aztec Racing guys absolutely happy that. Matthew Sheridan in particular will return to the prime podium, and I love the American flag on the side of the livery there. I think that must be a sign that he enjoys the American circuits whenever we visit them. And well, the Freed IT driver there for Aztec Racing, P6 overall, and taking what was second place in Pro-Am. And Daniel Fritz here, of course, your AM winner, the Australian driver. Well, he may be around the other side of the globe, but the 44 driver absolutely delivering as he misses pit box slightly. But I think you can forgive him for his enthusiasm, as Matt Emmons also parking up there, P2 in the AM class, and a great opener for Verano and Motorsport. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. And here they are. And as we can see, Adam Delmont, your winner after 14 intense laps of racing for the opening race of round 4 of season 7 of the NXTCC powered by Doble Motorcycles. But Adam Delmont, your winner for SO NXTGEN Gold by almost 2 seconds over Valkyrie X-Lax Dimitri Coulon. Dimitri Coulon, of course, your Pro-Am winner, and his first ever Pro-Am win and first ever overall podium in his debut season for Valkyrie X-Lax, with Gavin Gardner for Next Gen Pink completing at the top 3 there, and great to see the Englishman back on the podium. Andrew Pite and Adam McNally completed your top 5 for the Sim Racing Collective and SO NXTGEN Gold, and well, the SO NXTGEN Gold outfit definitely getting a huge haul of points from this race, with Matthew Sheraton ran up in the Pro-Am class and P6 overall there for Aztec Racing, and a great way to open up his account here at Charlotte, with Wojciech Swirydowicz after falling to P12 after losing the front bumper of the car and having to come into the pit. Well, that fast repair did not take away any of his enthusiasm. He battled his way back from P12 to P7, and the Semper Racing driver definitely showing why he's got the number 1 on his doors. Toby Prosser, P8 there, completing the Pro-Am podium for Aztec Racing of what was Dimitri Coulon, Matthew Sheridan and himself, and taking his best ever result and his first ever Pro-Am podium as well, and his first ever top 10 overall for Aztec Racing, with Sam Case for Next Gen's Lee Horn and Benjamin McCuskey for Next Gen Pink completing the top 10 there in very challenging races for the pair of them. JW Motorsports Ian Manners, best RS P11 ahead of Matthew Addy for Sam Case for Next Gen, completing the Pro-Am top 5, with James Smadscow there, P13 for Aztec Racing, just fended off Harley Bicknell to the line, and while Harley Bicknell for JW Motorsport, he'll be pleased with that opener. In fact, he's taken P7 in the Pro-Am class in his debut in the Pro-Am class, and then P15 completing the overall points finishers, Andy Fox there for Goldwyn Motorsport, who enjoyed a great tussle at the bottom end of the top 10, but it went wrong towards the very end and drops into P15, but still some overall points and some good Pro-Am points with it. Tom Davidson and Liam Silkstone, P16, P17 ahead of Daniel Fritz, who was in the end your AM winner for Whiskey Runners Racing, and he'll be absolutely ecstatic about that. Russell Fowler and Sam Smith completing a top 20 there in challenging races for both of them, albeit Sam Smith notching one of his better performances of the season so far with that P20 overall, and just getting ahead of Matt Emmons at the line there, who finished P21, but more importantly for him, second place in the AM class, and the Verano Motorsport driver will know it was hard fought to take that P2. Marcel Fritsch, P22, in his highest finishing position of the season so far for WS Racing Esports, ahead of Piotr Jegoslewski. And then Jamie Dory, P24, after a misfortune on the open lap cost him dear. The next gen pink drive just finishing ahead of Roy Plummer, who round off your top 25. And Roy Plummer taking his highest ever overall finishing position, but for next gen red, his second ever AM podium with P3 in the class, behind Daniel Fritz and Matt Emmons joining them on the AM podium. Mark Kemp recovered well to P26 after taking pole. The full tilt Motorsport drive went absolutely full tilt all the way to the end, and it shows. Head across the Transcontinental for 287 Motorsport. And then your top 30 was completed by Michael Lees, Sam Van Olst and Kevin Smith. With the Verona Motorsport drive having started from what was the back of the field, did well to finish P30 and what was P6 in the AM class. Expect plenty more from him in race number 2. Lewis Mason completed your finishes on the lead lap there, P31. We're lap down to Nick Lewins, Reese Watt, Alex Meredith, Mark Sykes, Jonathan Collins, Sam Bradley, Ben Altrier, and also there I do believe what was Alan McCain and Jake Pitts complete the top 40, misfortune besetting them all in the early stage of the race. The same for Dylan Mystery, P41, and Slamir Jaworski, the last of our tries to finish a lap down there, P42. We had Mitchell West finish 2 laps down for Mitch West Performance, P43 there, and then our 2 retirees of Duncan Moraes for Goldwyn Motorsport and Larice Pascucci retiring on the opening lap for Valkyrie Excite. 45 starters, 43 finishers, of which we saw 31 on the lead lap, ladies and gentlemen. And well, as we now turn our attention and get set for what is race number 2. Well, goodness me, race number 1 was full of drama. It came left, right and centre at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But what will race 2 behold? We'll be back in approximately 7 to 8 minutes time to find out. But until then, and before we do step away, here's a quick word from our title sponsor for this season, and that of course is Doble Motorcycles. We'll see you again shortly, ladies and gentlemen. If you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles? Home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. However, do not just take our word for it. Having won numerous awards over the years, including 3 Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year awards, and being nominated for many more, including Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times, the Doble family-run business prides itself on customer service, and it shows. Add to this the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, and you can be certain that you will receive excellent customer service from lights out to checkered flag. So if you'd like to know more, check out their website today at doble.co.uk. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycle store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the build-up to race 2 of 3 here in round number 4 of the NXTCC Season 7, powered by Doble Motorcycles. And race number 1 had a whole mixture of fortunes everywhere you looked, up and down the order. And with some drivers hitting it big, like Matthew Sheraton, who we see here in the rear of your picture, and others, meanwhile, having difficulty. But Sheraton having a phenomenal race to bring on home what's a solid result on the Pro-Am podium. And indeed taking that P2, and also a teammate Toby Prosser not too far behind him, and indeed taking that P3. And I do have to correct myself, it's something I said at the end of race number 1, which was it was his first ever Pro-Am podium. In fact, he has taken a class win before, and well, he made sure to remind me of that, in the fact that he did take what was a class win at Daytona at the end of season 6. But as he makes his way on around there and back up to speed, we'll be looking for plenty more in what will be race number 2, no doubt about it. And we are only a minute away from going and racing it once again. And goodness me, did we have a dramatic race number 1. And we'll many a recovery drive in there as well. And well, of course, the big question will be for this man, Japan Wojciech Swirydowicz, who'll have a lot less weight in the car than he's used to come the end of race 1 going into race number 2. And will he be able to very quickly scoop his way through to take the lead and run off of it, or will he find himself up against a rock and a hard place from the likes of what is Matthew Sheraton, but also other drivers who have finished just in front of him, including Gavin Gardner. Well, for all that and more, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to wait and see. But I can see a number of you there in the YouTube and Facebook chat talking about all the battling and heartbreak, of course, for Alex Meredith, where it all went wrong in the last couple of laps. And we'll say hello there to Patrick Falconer, or Paddy Falconer as he's known, to what is a close friends and associates. And well, great to see you tuning in, Patrick. And you couldn't quite make it today, which is unfortunate, but saying so glad to have you with us. And well, so it looks like it was a good thing. Well, maybe, but you never know, of course. This could be the round that for some, it might be a championship defining round in scoring the biggest points of all in terms of steering clear of the trouble. But whether it be heartbreak or alternatively a big point in race number 1, how will the fortunes for our drivers be in race number 2? Well, let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen, and head to the grids. So as our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for our second race of the evening. Adam Delmont will start on pole position, carrying on from where he left off in race number 1. Joined on the front row by prime pole sitter and winner from race 1 of Dimitri Coulon. Behind the pair, it's Gavin Gardner and Andrew Pike, followed up by Adam McNally and Matthew Sheraton. Wojciech Swirydowicz and Toby Prosser will line up in row at number 4. Keep your eyes out for Swirydowicz. He'll be looking to roar his way through the field as quickly as possible, and we'll have there Lee Horn and Benjamin McCluskey completing your top 10. Behind the next-gen pink driver, it'll be Ian Mann, starting P11, best of the rest, joined on the 6th row by Matthew Addy for Sam Case of the next-gen. And then on row number 7, it'll be James Spencer-Gout and Harley Bicknell, followed up by Andy Fox and Tom Davison, P15 at P16. And then Liam Silkstone and Daniel Fritz will make up your 9th row, with Daniel Fritz, your winner in the AM class in race 1, looking to repeat that in race number 2. Your top 20 is completed by Russell Fowler and Sam Smith. Matt Emmons started P21, second place AM driver. And while the grid is already set, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have to cut ourselves short there. And as everybody's in position, the lights are going on. It's 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go. It's a slow start for Dimitri Coulon, all bogs down at the start of this race. And as they make the way inwards towards turn number 1, well, Coulon's going to be outside there. Also a slow started Gavin Gardner as they all concertina together. A couple of lockups as well. But everyone's safely through the opening quarter so far. Many going very deep into the quarter, but albeit catching themselves just in time as they make the way onwards towards what will be at turn number 2 and 3. But as they do, you can see here a scattergram of drivers. They roar their way on through 4 up towards 5. Adam Delmont right now really having to try and keep Swirydowicz and Sheraton behind. And well, in fact, Coulon in the end has got back ahead, albeit didn't quite see how he's got back ahead, but he has. And Andrew Pike has just run off with the lead this race as they make the way on down in towards turn number 8. But coming for a left hand, you can see that the suspensions of the cars bouncing as they come on the undulations, and a run wide there for Wojciech Swirydowicz. And I can see was by the Aztec Racing cars being forced below the blue line. It will rejoin immediately, but Swirydowicz carrying on here and looking on the attack. But Lee Horn not being left behind as they head upwards towards the next braking zone. But as they do, Toby Prosser, I believe, has picked up an automated slowdown for going below the blue line, and therefore this is going to cost him massively as they head up through the chicane. It's going to peak the field as well. Prosser's going to try and come back here versus McCluskey, but McCluskey will show him the better as they go down the low line and carry on. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, AM leader is now Matt Emmons, who's found his way all the way up to P18. Daniel Fritz having a poor start by comparison, and Emmons absolutely sailing on through and making his way up into the lead that class. And Kevin Smith the same here, up to P3 already in AM class P25. And looking very strong as they come down to the braking zone here for turns 15 and 16. Hard behind him, of course, is Reese Watt, the pro driver. Roy Plummer there going a little bit sideways as he broke into 15, but he's been able to get it stopped in time. And to the end of lap one they've gone, and onwards towards the next one they go, as Kostachat's gone to Nantu, finds himself being swarmed there by Mitchell West up the inside, alongside as well with freeriders Peter Jegoslewski, but they've all just about been able to safely negotiate the opening corner, and it does show you can go free wide into turns 1 and 2. As they come towards the end of that run and in towards the infield quadruple right complex. Your leader at this time is Andrew Pike, followed by Dimitri Coulon in at P2 as your prime leader with it as well. Then we have behind the Valkyrie Excite driver Adam Delmont in P3, and then Matthew Sheraton in P4. From him, the second place prime driver is Gavin Goddard P5, Wojciech Swirydowicz in P6, and then we do have Lee Horn P7, Adam Manati P8, Benjamin McCluskey in P9, and then it is Toby Cross who completes your top 10 with Matthew Addy chasing after the third place prime driver in P11 and looking to hunt him down as quickly as possible. As they break away into chicane, Swirydowicz here side by side with Gardner. Gardner takes a lot of apex curve, that's going to bounce the car around, and Swirydowicz picks up another place, already up into P5 now, as they charged away on around through turn number 14. And Swirydowicz here definitely showing with less weight in the car that he's got the capacity to roar and romp his way up in towards the top 5, but can he bring down the leaders as well with it? That will be a challenge with Adam McNally, Banner with Lee Horn. Horn has the outside to inside, the better line arguably there, with McNally not quite able to close the door shut, and therefore it will be Lee Horn who moves up into P7, with McNally falling back slightly into P8 as they turn onto another lap, but charging on through, and well, it's not going to stop there as Toby Prosser goes too wide. That is very close there between Prosser and McCluskey, but they show brilliant awareness of each other as they come through 2 into 3. Prosser goes a little bit wide, look at McCluskey on the inside, nice and tight as Prosser finds a little bit of the grass, but manages to steer clear of the danger as they head towards the braking zone for turn number 5. Matthew Addy makes it up the inside in the same case. An extra drive, takes a lot of apex curve, sends the car wide. Prosser comes back to the inside. Addy backs off there before fully turning into the apex. Into 7 they go. A little bit of rub there into 7, but no harm, no foul play. And as they come through 8 right now, despite the fact it all went wrong for many a driver in race number 1, it has to be said, albeit I'm going to regret saying this, I'm sure now, it's the commentator's curse, that race number 2, they're showing exactly how you can go too wide here at Charlotte as they make the way onto the bank. Slamir Javoski being a lap down, being involved in an early altercation on lap number 1, but the majority of the field still in the lead lap. Fantastic to see as they come down into the chicane. And as they do, Prosser jumping over the apex curve, that's going to cost him a bit of speed, albeit Addy right now still under pressure, but he'll tuck into the turn McNally and feels safe. Looking back behind, that's Jamie Dory who's on the charge here as we ride up with the next year pink driver in P19. Crazy to think it all went wrong in what was race number 1, finished in the end what was a long way down the order, and now looking to try and recover his way in race number 2. And the misfortune of Fuji is striking again here for the number 13 driver from England, but he's a 2-time champion, and I suspect right now he's going to be getting those elbows out to a degree as he'll want to make some more progress, and he won't be able to afford to take his more Turkington-esque approach at this time as they head over the rise of into 2 and down towards 3. They go once again, but it goes very wrong there for what is Russell Fowler, and here comes Harley Bicknell around the outside. Dory just not anticipated Fowler getting it wrong there under rotation into 2, and well, Harley Bicknell says thank you, and the number 99 driver showing a great bit of opportunities. I mean, here comes Dory immediately back at him, can't quite find it, and in there being crowded into the corner with Sam Knowles right behind, and we'll see the closest it's going to get as they head over the rise and in towards turn number 7. But brilliant racing between all the drivers here, no doubt about it, and as they come down on towards the oval, well, meanwhile a bit further back, that's going to go very wrong, and that is Peter Jegoslewski being sent a long way into the weeds as he rejoins on the grass there in what is the old 2018 curved layout. He's going to rejoin, but the Assemble Racing driver is in an Audi RS3 that has been seen better days, no doubt about it, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is going to have to take a trip to the pit lane come the end of this lap. Meanwhile, in the AM class, this is Mark Kent versus Mitchell West. Keep in mind that Kent, the pole sitter going into today, will the number 94 driver here right now to that recovery in race number 1, looking to make further recovery in race number 2. He's got a lot of pressure on the Hyundai Elantra of West behind him in the battle with the Elantra and the Veloster. We know the Veloster is better in the corners by comparison on tyre wear, but the Elantra is an absolute monster all the way up towards top gear, much like the Audi RS3, but it's the Elantra's tyre wear that is the difference between it and the Audi, and indeed the difference between it and the Veloster as they make the way up the braking here into the right and left combination to complete lap and do it all over again. but as they make the way on through. So you may be wondering at the moment, well, what about the weather here today? We can tell you that right now, track temperature 38 degrees centigrade, 25 degrees centigrade ambient. It is warm, no doubt about it, and that may just be hitting our Elantra drives a little bit as we are almost at the 40-degree mark, and that's where the tyre degradation really starts to bite. But meanwhile, the bit of sideways motion there, that is a car going quite slowly, albeit I believe that was a lap down Aztec racing machine that was trying to get out of the way coming on through the run of turn number 3 into 4. But as we look for our drivers here to a bit further up the order, we look to Gavin Gardner, who's got Lee Horn for company behind. But keep in mind that Gavin has a lot more weight in the car this time, and therefore the number 11 driver will be feeling the pinch when it comes to being able to build up to top speed on the oval banking, and it is going to hurt it to a degree. Meanwhile, there's been a bit of an incident down at the chicane. That is Andy Fox, who has been turned around at turns 10 through to 13. He rejoins, and just in time as well as Ben Trier is going to have to latch onto the back of him and will make his way on for as Fox goes high. But what exactly happened to the Doble Motorcycles Audi driver? Well, here's a quick replay to explain the story. Was they made the way up towards what was the chicane, battling here with the Aztec Racing Audis, and he coming to the apex, and well, I think it will be the case that Fox would argue that he was there and he had the right to the apex. Meanwhile, his rival there, James Spencer's I think would argue, well, no, you weren't fully alongside, and well, as a result, Fox in the end being caught out there, and I think a bit of a frustrating moment for him, but he's still got plenty more racing to come, and whilst he's picked up some damage, I suspect he's going to try and soldier on rather than make it a quick visit to the pits with that fast repair, as otherwise that's going to cost him too much time now that we are halfway point of the race. But there's a car pointing in the wrong direction. That is Reese Watt that has gone around, and also that I believe that was Daniel Fritz had to take evasive action. And in all of this right now, and indeed many of you, particularly if you're a Verado Motorsport fan, your eyes do not deceive you, that is an AM driver inside the top 15. That has not happened this season in race 2 so far, and it is Matt Emmons right now for Verado Motorsport, your AM leader, who is currently running in the top 15. He could be on course here to score what would be some absolutely brilliant overall points if he can get this to the finish and stay there. And I say that, and immediately, well, the story of the two Matthews, we did say about that in the run on the grid, and what mistake from Matthew Alley means that Matt Emmons now has to take evasive action. Here comes Tom Davidson, who's trying to make sure he keeps a settled line here as they make the way in towards the second chicane, and we get to the halfway point of this race. It's going to be too wide on the brake, and the Sim Racing Collective driver is going to be going through, and there's contact there between the two of them, and Davidson is sent towards the grass on the pit lane, and the Sim Racing Collective driver will be absolutely furious with that. The 42 being sent around as they headed to turn 1. One more battling, but that's going to put him all the way down to P24 from what was a run and a shot at the top 15. But as Michael Lees makes his way around, as does Marcel Fridge and also Alex Meredith, all drivers trying to bring themselves back up the order. We see here with Harley Bicknell, the JW Motorsport driver, coming out of turn 4 in towards 5. Everywhere you look, there's a battle to be told. Indeed, a story that is going to come absolutely loaded with it. And Bicknell right now enjoying a good run here in race number 2. Albeit he does have James Spencer's gal, who is his target in front to hunt down P8 in the prime class. But he's also got huge pressure from none other than Jamie Doria. Small tap there to the rear of Bicknell's car by looks like. So did he lose it under braking? One of the two. Meanwhile, that's Sam Van Olst who's speared to the wall there. And I think in the concertina effect, Van Olst being tapped on the rear, the car being sent round, and at that point becoming a passenger, and the Goldwyn Motorsport driver's race has just come to an abrupt halt, and you can see the suspension on the left hand side at the front has completely collapsed. Van Olst will be going no further in terms of racing, not without a fast repair, and that's a heartbreaker for what is the Belgian driver, given the good form he's been showing in the races so far. And well, not quite sure exactly what set off Van Olst's race, but I can tell you it has gone very, very well for Sam Van Olst, and in fact we might be able to get you a replay of what exactly happened, and here it is, ladies and gentlemen. And we're in the big concertina as they made the way on through. Do we get a good camera angle? We don't really, as the camera transitions there, but I believe there might have been a small tap to the rear of his car from Nick Clibbins, albeit I'm not going to point the finger, but I think that's what the camera may have suggested, but the stewards will know all about that should it be reported after the racing. But as they make the way onwards, we return to your live pictures, and well, right now, looking all the way back to the front, it's been a little bit quiet about him, but let's sing some praises about him. The driver from the Sim Racing Collective, the number 57 of Andrew Pike, leading by what is 1 second, albeit almost grazing the wall there. As soon as we cut to it, it seems like the commentator's curse is gnarling at the heels of him. Well, right now, that mistake and almost going into the water turn number 8 has actually cost him the best part of 3/10 versus Adam Delmont in the battle of the two Hondas on the front of the field, as Delmont right now trying to make it back-to-back wins, but knowing with 56 kilograms of success ballast in this car, it is going to hold him back considerably. Meanwhile, Pike has half the weight by comparison, And then Dimitri Kulin, your third place overall driver, running P2 overall success ballast, which is going to definitely be an experience for him. That's the best part of what is 50 kilograms of success ballast. And right now, the prime leader, well, if he can bring home a P3 to follow up, or even if it's just a P4 overall, with Wojciech Swirydowicz fast approaching, he won't complain at that, given the fact that he's going to take back-to-back prime wins here, should he get it to that checkered flag. But as he heads in towards turn 1 and around, well, meanwhile, Gavin Gardner is under some pressure. This is the battle with Matthew Sheraton into turn 1. Sheraton trying to defend, Gardner trying to make the move here, and he'll want to do it as soon as possible. He's got McCluskey and Horn approaching fast from behind. 2 wide, they go through 2 into 3. Gardner's going to hold the outside line here, and it's going to be Sheraton who does not back off. Brilliant racing between them. They go all the way round through turn number 4, and in the end showing great awareness of each other, but Gardner does take a small trip to the grass with 2 wheels as they head on through. Meanwhile, here goes McCluskey. He takes one. Does he get both of them? No, he doesn't. And in the end, side by side between the NXTGEN Pink teammates, and Gardner backs out on the outside there. 9. The one thing you never do is take your teammate out of the race, and well, McCluskey and Gardner swap places there, but I think Gardner would have liked to have continued that battle, but McCluskey has found his way into it after what was that fantastic 2-wide action all the way through the infield between them. Meanwhile, speaking of side by side, we look back up to the battle for P3, and sailing on through past Dimitri Kulin, it's none other than Wojciech Swirydowicz. The Semper Racing driver now moves up to P3, and as he roars his way on through, almost towards turn number 14 he goes. Right now he's got 2.5 seconds to close down to overall leader Pike, and he knows that on his journey he's got 2 seconds to close down to Adam Delmont. He won't be in the tow for some time here, and will, despite his pace on average being 4 tenths of a second a lap faster than Delmont, well, he'll have 5 more laps, so he might be able to take on Adam Delmont by the checkered flag, but I don't know about Andrew Pike. We'll have to wait and see, but Pike is struggling, it should be said, and in fact Pike's pace has dropped off in that last lap. He has 3 tenths slower than Adam Delmont, and well, 3 tenths slower than Wojciech Swirydowicz as well, so we could be looking at a 3-way fight for the overall win in these closing stages, and we will keep our eyes peeled for that. But meanwhile, we talked a bit about Matt Emmons earlier, leading the way in the AM class with Rhino Motorsport, and here's his teammate Kevin Smith, who right now is P2 in the same class, and well, it could be a 1-2 here for Rhino, but the problem he's got is that he's got a very fast approaching full tilting motorsport car. And yes, that is Mark Kent who's behind him as we ride on board the rear of the 94 Honda. And well, we can definitely see that also the number 94, but with 0 in front of it, the full Tilby Motorsport Velocity is on the attack here, already looking to the inside. But careful, Mark, you've been there once before. You know it could go so wrong so easy. And well, I think that's what they'll be saying on the radio, in the fact that he can't afford to end up in the wall or out of this race once again, given the fact he's recovered so well over the course of races 1 and 2. And as they head in towards turn number 6, it'll be in the mindset that for Kevin Smith, he'll want to try and keep Mark behind, but Mark's going to take a peek there, but has the door shut in his face, and right now probing, looking every which way. You can see that. Look how close Kent got to that inside wall. Smith, meanwhile, taking a wider line, but every trick in the book he's throwing at him is with Mark Kent, and in the end, Kevin Smith proving resilient for now, but for how long, with what will be the next time they come around, another 4 laps on the clock. As they head in towards turn number 10, going in towards the chicane. Behind them, there's a long queue of cars also starting to form, including what will be Mitchell West, your third, which is your fourth place. Your full place AM driver, who's looking to make another return to the AM podium here today. And also then we've got Reeswap, Piotr Jozlewski, they're all closing up. Meanwhile, 3 wide here into turn 1. That's going to be very bold. Matthew Addy on the outside, backs out of it with Jamie Dory going through the middle. And, well, James Mazescal fending on the inside. So Addy losing 2 places for the price of 1 quarter. But give it all. Jamie Dory's going to come on through. And Addy's going to be given the right to fight with Mazescal in the battle for P7 in the prime class. And will be P15 overall as they make the way through the infield section. Meanwhile, just coming towards the second half there, that's Russell Fowler, who has got Ian Manners, who's literally touching the back of his car more than times that I can count with fingers right now. And I would imagine here that Ian Manners has got a lot of pace at his fingertips. I think might be a little bit frustrated that he's being held here at the moment in the number 52. But indeed, well, Fowler's got the place on him, and therefore Manners has got to find a way safely on through. As they head on around there through turn number, well, it's 9, almost towards 10 they go. Well, it is going to be a change here for Manners. He's fallen quite a bit back as Matt Emmons in the rear of the pitch there, carrying on his merry way. But from there, we look a bit further back to Alan McCain. Marcel Fridge in front of him, and behind him is Harley Bicknell. And, well, McCain and Bicknell fighting over P12 in the prime class here, with Marcel Fridge looking for his best ever performance of the season, which would be a P20 overall. And, well, he could get himself inside the reverse grid positions. It will depend on what we draw out of the bowl. It could be the first time he enters that reverse grid in what's been all of his seasons of racing the NXTCC. we'll have to see as McCain pushing onwards here. Meanwhile, Gavin Gardner and what is Lee Horn battling side by side inside the top 10. This is the fight for P7. Gardner getting the upper hand so far, as we say hello to Pullman 250 in the YouTube chat, and as they make the way on through turns 3 and 4, Horn there goes a little bit wide, picks up some extra understeer. That's going to give Gardner a bit of confidence that Horn right now is pushing it to the limit, and well, finding those limits very quickly as they come up through 5 and 6. Well, we're going to have to hold the fort in this battle, because you may recall earlier we were asking the question, would we see the top 3 come back together before this race is over? And well, the short answer is yes, you're seeing it right now, because they've still got 2 more laps to go at the end of this lap, and it's Pike, Delmont and Swirydowicz in that order on your TV screens as they head in towards turn 10. Through the chicane they roll, and Pike right now, well, he's going to hope that Delmont can just keep Swirydowicz behind, but it's 3 Hondas, and well, the heaviest of them is in the middle of the pack, the lightest of them is at the rear of the pack, and Pike is in the middle in terms of weight. And as we ride on board here with your championship leader, the number 1 looking for a move into the chicane. Does he go for it this time? No, he can't, because Delmont knows what's coming and immediately makes sure to make himself as wide as possible. Onto the penultimate lap they go as they head into turn 1. But we know that Swirydowicz, when he's in these positions where he's got to make moves count, well, he knows exactly what to do as he puts the wipers on there to try and get some of the debris off the windscreen. And as they come in towards turn number 3, we only need to try and bait out a mistake, and he's going to get it as he looks to squeeze up the inside, but Delmont squeezing into the apex there, and Swirydowicz trying to force the door open, not so. And well, Adam Delmont saying, no, I know what you're trying to do, and I'm not having it, and the elbows get out, and Swirydowicz right now backs out there, and indeed, whilst they rub, they also showed respect for each other as they make the way through 7 into 8. We do see Dylan Mystery there pulling aside on the blue flags. Great awareness from the Aztec Racing AM driver, and now back onto the oval banking they go, and well, with a little bit of traffic that's practically reset this battle, but here comes Swirydowicz once more in the tow, building up the speed here, and Delmont's looking vulnerable. It's a 10th, if that, as they make the way down towards the chicane onto the brakes. Swirydowicz is going to go this time, sees the doors open, but can't get fully alongside Delmont, well, the last of the late breakers. As they exit, it's going to be too wide now as they make the one to the oval banking, but Swirydowicz is going to be made to go high. Delmont will have the tow of Pike behind, but keep in mind that Andrew Pike is now a second up the road. He'll feel confident at this point that these two are fighting for P2. They're no longer fighting for the win, but Pike can't become complacent as they come down. Swirydowicz looks the inside, goes all in, and as he does so takes P2, but Delmont tries to come back as they leap and bounce their way over the curbs. It's 2-1 as they go on to lap number 14 to 14. Delmont's there, Swirydowicz from the outside into turn 1, and in it Swirydowicz finalises the move and gets ahead in the close of the apex. What brilliant battling between them, and well, they gave no quarter, there's no doubt about it, but they kept it from ending up in tears, and with a 2-second gap now to Andrew Pike, your race leader. What can Swirydowicz do at this point other than chase and hope that Pike makes a mistake? But as they come out of 5 in towards 6, well, elsewhere, Matt Emmons right now on their heels of Jamie Dory. He's lost the place to Jamie Dory, but on course for a P14 overall, which will be his first ever overall top 15, and with it, another AM win to boot. And Mark Ken and Mitchell West, we don't know what's quite happened to Kevin Smith, other than the car seems to be retired in the pit lane, but what I can tell you is that Mark Ken is P2 in the AM class, with Mitchell West just behind and keeping under pressure all the way. And the Prime Lead battle, it is Dimitri Coulon in a lonely P4 overall, but with it a lonely Prime Lead as well, with only what is 5 corners remaining. But as he makes his way on through, weaving on through the quarters, we meanwhile look back up towards the front of the field, and here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Pike, the man who sailed through into lead on the opening lap when everybody else seemed to be stumbling out of the starting blocks. And as he comes down into the last couple of quarters, the lights go on because he takes victory in race number 2 at Charlotte Motor Speedway as the Sim Racing collectors Andrew Pike. P2 goes to Wojciech Swirydowicz from Semper Racing, and Adam Delmont completes the top 3 for SO and NXTGEN Gold. It's a prime win, a back-to-back prime wins for Dimitri Coulon for Valkyrie EXO, a P4 overall, head of Benjamin McCluskey, and then we will have Matthew Cheverton bring on home what will be back-to-back P2s in the prime class, P6 once again overall for Aztec Racing. Lee Horn, Gavin Gardner, and then Toby Prosser completes your top 3 with a wounded Hyundai Elantra for Aztec Racing, but back-to-back 3rd place in the prime class, and Russell Fowler rounds off your top 10 overall. And meanwhile, here is Matt Emmons to take the AM win, and what is the first time we've ever seen an AM finish inside the top 15 to take overall points. He takes P13 overall as well. A brilliant drive for the Rhino Motorsport driver, and well, he guarantees he's in the reverse grid as well, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to be absolutely bouncing up and down inside that car right now because he has set a record, and goodness me. And well, further down the field, Mark Kent coming on home to P2 in the AM class, fending off Mitchell West to the checker flag. And well, I think these two still feel as though they're racing to a little bit, but great racing between them. And well, Mitchell West returns to the podium, and Mark Kent finally breaking the curse, which seems to be that if he starts some pole in race 1 in class, he won't be seen on the podium all evening. Well, he's fought back hard for race number 2, and what could unfold in race number 3? That will be the question on his mind, albeit he can't be eligible in that reverse grid as he finished P24 overall, and that will frustrate him to a degree. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes all of our drivers getting across the line, those out on laps. And as we do look to Andrew Pike making it down pit lane, well, the Sim Racing Collective driver there will be absolutely proud of that one. Indeed, the team will be. And what a drive from the 57 driver, with Wojciech Swirydowicz absolutely chasing all the way through. He found his way past Adam Delmont in the end, but Pike he couldn't quite reach, and Adam Delmont won't be too upset about that. There was brilliant battling between them, but Adam Delmont in the end at P3. And 9, he can still make it 3 podiums out of 3 should he carry on that form in our final race of the day. As he brings it on down the pit lane, well, we do look to Matt Emmons coming on down with Dimitri Coulon already out the car. And, well, Emmons there, what's there to say other than an absolutely pitch-perfect race and a P30 to boot? The rewards have been reaped. Mark Kent as well, doing well to take P2 in the AM class, but he'll know it should have started off with a podium as a minimum in race 1, but still there's one more race to come for him in his brilliant battle with Mitchell West, the Mitchell West performance driver, back on the AM podium once again. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. And, well, without further ado, after another 14 fascinating laps in round number 4 of Season 7 of the NXTCC for race number 2, it was Andrew Pike who took victory for the Sim Racing Collective by 1.4 seconds over Stemper Racing's Wojciech Swirydowicz. Adam Delmont fought hard for a P3 finish for SRL NXTGEN Gold, with then it being the best part of almost 3 seconds to Dimitri Coulon. Back-to-back prime wins for the Valkyrie X-Type driver, and also another overall top 5 in that 4th place finishing position. Benjamin McCluskey round off your top 5 there in a well-crafted race for NXTGEN Ping ahead of Matthew Cheverton, 2nd place in prime, P6 overall for Aztec Racing. Lee Hornfish in P7 for Sam Case for NXTGEN is brilliant back and forth battle with Gavin Gardner, taking the position by 200ths at the finish line, and Gavin Gardner won't be too displeased given the fact he's had back-to-back top 10 so far, and that's exactly what he's needed to turn his season around for NXTGEN Ping. Toby Prosser rounding off the prime podium there of Coulon Cheverton himself with 3rd place in the class for Aztec Racing and P9 overall. And then Russell Fowler completing your top 10 with his first top 10 of the season, and the Performance Link Esports driver, first top 10 of the season I should say, under the prime banner, but indeed a P4 in class as well, and finishing a 2nd clear of Liam Silkstone there for SRL NXTGEN Gold. With the number 51 driver being best of the rest in P11, James Pascal P12, and then Matt Emmons with that AM win, and well, a record-making AM win with that, given the fact it'll be the first time an AM driver will be in the reverse grid for this season, and he guaranteed to be in it, I should point out as well, and the Verano Motorsport driver finished ahead of Jamie Dory and Matthew Addy to complete your top 15. Tom Davison, P16, the Sim Racing Collective driver, doing very well to make his way back up through the ranks after losing his front bumper early on for the Sim Racing Collective ahead of iRacing Esports' Alan McCain. And your top 20 was completed by Marcel Fritsch, taking his best ever performance, P18, for the Austrian driver for WS Racing Esports, ahead of Alex Meredith and Harley Bicknell. Ben Altrier was P21 ahead of Ian Manners, with Nick Clemens P23 and 2 seconds clear of Mark Kent, who finished P2 in the AM class for Full Tilt B Motorsport. And then Mitch West Performance's Mitchell West completing the AM podium of Emmons, Kent and himself. Peter Jezlewski, P26 ahead of Roy Plummer, the NXTGEN Red driver, not quite able to make it back-to-back podiums, but still a P4 in class. He won't be upset about that. And then your top 30 was brought on home by Jake Pitt, Daniel Fritz and Costa Chatsconstantino. They completed also your lead lap finishers, with a lap down to Duncan Moraes, Andy Fox, Kevin Smith, who was looking good for a potential AM podium, but it wasn't to be in the end for Verano Motorsport. Maurice Pascucci, Sam Bradley, Adam McNally, there being the first drivers to finish 2 laps down for SRL over NXTGEN Gold, just behind his teammate. And then we also see what was 2 laps down for Slavomir Jarvosky, Dylan Mistry, and also Mark Sykes. Your top 40 was completed by Reese Watt, was 3 laps down at the checker flag for JW Motorsport. A further lap to Lewis Mason in P41. Michael Lees 5 laps down in P42. And in the last 2 classified finishers, as he completed over half the race distance, Sam Van Alst P43 for Goldwyn Motorsport. Unfortunately, we had retirements for Jonathan Collins and Sam Smith. So 45 starters, 30 of which finished on the lead lap, ladies and gentlemen. And, well, we now turn our sights, of course, to what is our final race of the day. But, of course, Before we do that, there's just the one question, and the question we always like to ask at this point in the day, which is, what about that reverse grid draw? Well, welcome to the commentary booth, ladies and gentlemen, and without further ado, we do have the Next Gen Racing Lottery Bowl, and within here we do have the numbers, what is 1 through to 13, well in fact not 1 through to 13, my mind's in the wrong place there, we have the numbers 6 through to 12 I should say, and very shortly we'll close our eyes, shuffle the balls, and whichever two we draw out, we add them together, and that's where we reverse the grid from. So without further ado, here goes the draw for round number 4. And we take our first ball out of the bowl. And our first ball of the night is going to be the number 8. So we're going to have a relatively mid-sized reverse grid this time. And the number 8 making its first appearance this season, I do believe. But what's it going to be joined by? And we do the draw for the second ball. And it is going to be joining the number 8. The number 12 makes another appearance. It's a very popular number this season, it must be said. So it's the top 20 that gets inverted. And when making his debut for season 7, Harley Bicknell finds itself on the front row of the grid, on pole position, joined on the front row by none other than Alex Meredith. They've both had misfortune so far today, but they're both going to see the fortunes turned around now in race number 3. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to tee us up for an incredible conclusion to our racing at Charlotte, and we will be back in approximately, will be 7 to 8 minutes time for the build up to race number 3. But until then, here's a word from our title sponsor for this season, and that is of course Doble Motorcycles. We'll see you very shortly. If you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles? Home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. However, do not just take our word for it. Having won numerous awards over the years, including 3 Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year awards, and being nominated for many more, including Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times, the Doble family-run business prides itself on customer service, and it shows. Add to this the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, and you can be certain that you will receive excellent customer service from lights out to checkered flag. So if you'd like to know more, check out their website today at doble.co.uk. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page, or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycle store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we return one more time this evening, ladies and gents, for race 3 of 3 here in round 4 of season 7 of the NXTCC, brought to you on iRacing, powered by Doble Motorcycles. Race 1 involved quite a few major shunts. Race number 2 saw some absolutely phenomenal side-by-side action all the way up and down the field, and also some stellar results and a record equaling result in the AM class, with Matt Emmons being the first driver to ever take what has been a P13 in either race 1 or 2, of course equaling the achievements of James Matsugao for Aztec Racing, as I've been informed, indeed gone back through the record books, with James Matsugao taking the P13 at Watkins Glen only a season ago. So therefore, with Emmons being involved in what is a top 20 reverse grid, you can imagine his goal is going to be to try and push it to the limit, starting in what will be P8, and see if he can try to hold on to an overall top 10 finish. But as all of our drivers get set and whatnot, well, we do have 2 minutes to go. I think it's only appropriate we do try to grab a quick word from the man himself, the man of the moment if we can, if he's behind the wheel of his car, and indeed he is, and out there at the moment trying to get a couple more final practice laps in is Mr. Matt Emmons. And well, let's see if we can have a quick chat with him as he goes up onto the oval banking. And well, without further ado, Matt, have you got a time for a quick chat?
Always for you, Paul.
Matt, a record equaling P13 in the oval stands for an AM class driver in race number 2. You looked absolutely in control out there.
You could say that. It was more trying to keep pace with the cars around me and just keeping my head down and trying to stay out of trouble, really.
Well, you stayed out of trouble, and as a result, you're now P8 on the grid for the final race of the day of a top 20 reverse grid. Are you feeling as though a P10 or higher could be on the cards?
That's the target.
Well, we'd love to see it, no doubt about that. Of course, a bit of misfortune for teammate Kevin Smith in race 2, but it sounds as though he might be chasing the tail end of the podium again in race 3.
We certainly hope so. I mean, this is Kev's last race this season due to work commitments, so it'd be nice to have a Verano double podium tonight.
Well, we hopefully will see it, but with that, we wish you and the team all the best of luck, and we'll see you at the checkered flag.
Thank you very much, Paul.
There, briefly hearing from Matt Emmons talking about his successes and also his expectations for the final race of this weekend, not this weekend I should say, of tonight, this fine Tuesday, and as he gets himself set and ready to go, also with the fact that it'll be Kevin Smith's last round of the season for some time, therefore looking for that potential double podium between the two of them. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are all done and dusted with the build up to this race, because only 10 seconds away and we do go into our final race of the day here, and it is going to be race 3 of 3 in round 4 of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. But who will bring it home? With Harley Bicknell on pole, well, anything can happen with primes littering inside the top 10, but will they be the ones to do so? Will it be a pro, or could we even see an AM take victory? Here we go. And as our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for the final time today. A top 20 inverted sees Harley Bicknell on pole overall and in Pro-Am. Joining the JW Motorsport driver on the front row of the grid is going to be none other than Alex Meredith. Marcel Fritsch and Alan McCain line up on the second row of the grid, ahead of Tom Davidson and Matthew Addy. Jamie Dory starts P7, joined on row 4 by Matt Emmons, your AM pole sitter, and then behind the Verano Motorsport driver will be James Matsugao and Liam Silkstone to complete your top 10. Russell Fowler and Toby Prosser are on row number 6. Behind them on row 7 will be Gavin Gardner and Lee Horn. We then do have Matthew Sheraton and Benjamin McCluskey on row number 8, followed up by Dimitri Coulon and Adam Delmont, and then it's Wojciech Swirydowicz and Andrew Pike who complete your top 20. Ben Altrier will be P21 ahead of Ian Manners, with Nick Clemens and Mark Kent completing the 12th row of the grid, and then it will be behind them the pairing of what is Mitchell West and Piotr Jegoslavski. Roy Plummer and Jake Pitt start P27, P28, with Daniel Fritz and Costa Chatskonstantou completing your top 30. But we're going to have to stop there, ladies and gentlemen, because the grid is set, the lights are already going on. It's a short start procedure today. It's going to be 3, 4, 5, fire lights, and lights out and away we go for the final time today. And as they roar their way up to speed into turn 1, well, it's a good start from Harley Bicknell. As you can see, Alex Meredith looking around the outside. Meredith being brazen here. He's got the confidence, and Meredith will take the lead as they make the way for the opening couple of corners. Matt Emmons there taking a relatively slow start, a safe one with that. But as all the drivers now make the way in towards what will be at turns 3 and 4, this is where it's going to get dicey, and this is where cold tyres are going to hurt drivers who are not prepared to try and dance on them as they make the way inwards towards what will be at turns 5 and 6. But all the drivers through so far, a couple of slow starters. In fact, I think Lewis Mason has had a bit of an instant before he's even got underway and had to go into the pit, and also the same for Duncan Reyes. But otherwise, 43 of our 45 starters have made it safely through the infield section so far. Albeit we've had one driver turned around, I believe it's Costa Jackson Stanton and Kevin Smith, who've had a nightmare in the infield. We'll get a replay of that when we can. But Mark Kent here on the mission to make his way out the order, but Mitchell West is trying to follow him as closely as possible, as these two so close together in the AMP class, battling for P2. And well, they've got quite a bit of fighting to do, no doubt about it. As they head up towards the chicane, you can see there now the starting formation of what could be a free wide, and Ian Manners right in the midst of that. The JW Motorsport driver on the brakes on the inside of Piotr Jegoslavsky. Jegoslavsky taking a lot of apex curve, and that is going to really hurt the suspension of the Semper Racing Audi, and it could potentially cost him the speed as he now builds his way onwards to what will be turn number 15. As he makes his way on down the round and trying to get himself into that position to defend. We can see that Mark Kemp, by going high, cost himself all the speed. He'll go defensive into the chicane, but Mitchell West is going to look around the outside here, and well, will it be the Australian or will it be the Englishman? They make contact, and well, West is still there. Encouraged to warn the rear pitch. That's the JW Motorsport car of Reese Watt that's been speared to the wall. But as they go too wide into the apex there, just in front of us, Loris Pascucci, and Kent and West are still fighting as they come through 2 into 3. Brilliant side-by-side racing. West grazes the wall for a brief moment, and that will cut all West's pace, and Fox will come up around the outside and also try to take the place off him, albeit too wide at the apex of 3, and it sends West round. West goes for a spin, and well, careens onto the racing line. They can't evade Mitchell West, and that's gone very, very well for all of them. And indeed, with that, we've also got there, as the blimp camera is obscured, but I believe we've got multiple cars to the wall, and well, that's disastrous for so many. And well, meanwhile, as they look to reset to the pit, Alex Meredith making his way on around through what is turn number 9 in towards 10. He leads us ahead of Harley Bicknell. They are as they were after the opening lap, and well, Alan McCain in P3, a top 3 of primes right now overall and in class. And as they head on around through turn number 14 here, well, right now Meredith not giving in whatsoever as they head on down towards turn number 15. As they do, Matt Emmons in P7, battling with Marcel Fritsch at this time. And well, Emmons right now trying to go for the record of the highest placed ever overall and finish, albeit Fritsch taking the fight back to him. And you can see that Toby Prosser leaping his way to try and get along the inside as they head across the timeline. But right now, brilliant racing between all of these drivers. And as they head in towards turn number 1, well, that's going to be Prosser and Horn now square it off as they go through the left-hander into the left-hand kick. Prosser's now going to try and edge his way on the inside to outside. It's Emmons who makes contact with the wall. The side panel there, and I think the rear right suspension also taking a bit of a knock in the process. But that's going to drop Emmons down to P9, and from them, Dimitri Coulon and Benjamin McCluskey side by side here, and Coulon trying to make some progress. And well, good on the number 77 driver, the simple reason he's not afraid of fighting with the pros, and well, he's in the process right now trying to consolidate his position inside the prime top 10 and potentially picking up some more places from the primes if there's an opportunity. But as he heads in towards what will be turn number 8, through the left hand they go. No way through for Coulon at the moment, and McCluskey and Cheverton, well, they're still fighting each other. Cheverton having a slow run out of turn number 8. That's going to give McCluskey all the yardage he needs to now build up the speed. And Cheverton staying high, and here comes Coulon as well, and that's going to be P8 in the prime class now for Dimitri Coulon. Is it? As Cheverton's going to come back at him here, a little bit of attack between the two of them, and Coulon gets turned there as well. I think Cheverton would argue that space needs to be given, but Coulon would argue that I had the right to the inside line. I think a bit of a gentleman's disagreement between them. You see a flash of lights there from the Valkyrie Excite driver, not too pleased how that's played out. But from them, we look back up to the front of the field as Jamie Dory cuts the inside of Harley Bicknell to take P2, and Bicknell in P3 now with Alan McCain on his inside, and Bicknell's race is going more and more backwards here, albeit we've got a long way to go, and I would imagine that Bicknell being very patient rather than looking to try and fight too hard at this point in time, for the simple reason that it will gradually come to him given the way results are going, so long as he keeps the consistency. But speaking of consistent, you can consistently rely on James Spencer-Scowl to be battling with drivers. He makes his way up at a P4 in the prime class, P5 overall, picking off Matthew Addy there. And well, now his next target will be Harley Bicknell, who's 2.5 seconds up the road. The Audi driver in the 660 really on a charge here and looking to try and make it what will be another prime podium in his career as he comes down into turn number 8, so close to the wall there for all of our drivers. Toby Prosser getting even closer. I don't think you could have fit a sheet of paper, as I get it right the third time I tried to say it, between himself and the wall. And as he heads on towards what will be turn at number 10, well, Marcel Fritsch right now is going to try and fight for the position here. for what will be P7 overall, and will reach the pro driver who's yet to score what is a top 15 in his seasons of racing, but definitely of course do so. The Austrian driver just needs to make sure to keep it calm and consistent and doing exactly that as he heads on towards what is turn number 14. Behind them, Wojciech Swirydowicz on a charge here as he looks to battle with Adam Delman. Also there, Dimitri Coulon in front of him, Andrew Pike. Remember these four, the top four of what was race number 2. Get very feisty there as you've got Delman just to the outside of Swirydowicz, and in the end Delman has to back out entirely as Swirydowicz takes the place, but Coulon absolutely prancing onwards, and Andrew Pike under absolutely sensational pressure for P13 at the moment, chased after Matthew Sheraton. But Pike right now, I think the problem he's got is, given how heavy the car is after race number 2, he's just not quite able to put the pace down that he would like, and therefore all his advances, well, they're just being caught up to the driver by the drivers behind, and he can't break away. But to be fair, that's exactly what the Success Ballast is designed to do, and that's why we have it here and each and every day in the NXTCC as they make their way on through turn number 6, and the 57 driver at this point just battling against the way all the way to the finish for as long as he can as they come down through turn number 8. As they roll off the apex and up towards turn at number 9, well looking to Lee Horn. He's got a long queue of cars building up behind him as well, with what is there Russell Fowler being the first of a number, Benjamin McCluskey as well. As we ride aboard and look back from the rear, here comes Fowler looking to the outside, can't quite find it, backs out there, lifted off into the braking zone in order to make sure he holds position, but at the same time doesn't catch and points Benjamin McCluskey out, and Lee Horn, well, he's doing a good job of keeping Fowler behind as they build their way up to speed, going towards the end of this lap and onto lap number 6. Jamie Dory into the pit lane, as you pointed out, so damage on Dory's car has seen them have to make a trip to the pits, an unexpected one at that. So right now your top 6 is led by Pro-Ams, indeed all the way through, and then your leading prior this time is Marcel Fritsch, just ahead of the battle we're watching here for P8 between Lee Horn, Russell Fowler and what is there, Benjamin McCluskey, and our camera being transfixed on the rear of Lee Horn's car as he comes through turn number 2 for the 6th time. As he makes his way on through, and we do look to the exterior view, it does seem to be right now the top 6 of Brams all very eager to try and make sure that they don't get caught up by the pros before they start enjoying their own little battles in amongst each other. Swirydowicz looking to the inside there versus what is Adam Delman, having to try and keep Delman behind. Delman's not giving up here as Swirydowicz is struggling to find his way behind past Dimitri Coulon. He's doing a sensational job of keeping him behind as they make their way over the crest of 17 towards 8. And Coulon really established himself here as a strong driver after what was a great debut at Fuji, and right now showing even more of that here at Charlotte and not putting a foot wrong. And some would say, well, that's because he's been through the front of the field for the majority of the day, but to be fair, he had to qualify there, and since then he's been exchanging it with the pros. And onto the brakes he goes. Swirydowicz looks to the inside, Coulon squeezes him a little bit, but Swirydowicz backing out. Meanwhile, Pike Sheraton still fighting here in the fight of the Honda versus the Hyundai, and as they make the way onto the bank of 14, Sheraton staying very high here, Pike tucking it in behind as they head upwards towards the second chicane. We're at the halfway point of this race, practically going on to lap number 7 by the time they clear the chicane, and Pike's still trying to find some more places. He's up into P12, but how far can he go with that 56 kilograms of ballast in the car? The leader's ballast from race number 2. Onto the race he goes, looking up the inside of Sheraton into turn 1, but Sheraton there not wilting under pressure. And meanwhile, further back, that is Mark Ken, and bad luck strikes again for Mark Ken in the number 94, and it's struck at the final quarters. What exactly has happened, however, we get an immediate replay of that, but Mark Ken's race has been brought to an abrupt halt, and here's the replay to explain. Was he's making his way down, chasing after what was at the time, I believe, Matt Emmons here. A dive to the inside from the 55, and the 55 there being of what was, unless I'm very much mistaken, that was the 55 car of Michael Lees, and Kent sent through to the barrier, and that will be absolutely frustrating. At the same time, we also had an incident for Sam Bradley, and I think he was lapped down at the time as well, and this has happened with his over collision. Coming over the rise of turn 7 into 8, turns into left hand and hits the wall and goes straight to the barrier there. And the SO1 Gold car, well, it's been in the walls, it's been in the barriers, and now it's out of the race by the looks of things. As we return to your live pictures, and Mark Kent is trying to carry on here, but I suspect this is to get it to the pit lane, given the fact he was already on to another lap. He'd already passed the pit lane entry by the time the accident occurred at turn number 16. But as he heads on down towards the chicane, well, meanwhile, we look back up to the front of the field, and this is Alex Meredith, who leads by a growing margin of 4.6 seconds, and right now not looking back whatsoever, as Adam Delmont's been involved in an incident. Andrew Pike's been involved in an incident off camera. Let's move a long way down. There's Andrew Pike at the exit of turn 13. The suspension is damaged. The front left has gone on that car. I don't think the Sim Racing Collector Honda's making it to the pit lane, not without a tow. And Pike right now will be absolutely fuming. And an incident has taken both him and Adam Delmont out as he tries to reverse it around. But what exactly has set this off? Well, here's the replay to explain. So coming down to the braking zone, Pike on the outside, on the inside, Matthew Sheraton, 2 wide, they went in. Bit of attack with Sheraton, and Sheraton in the end, feeling as though squeezing, they all careened into each other, my goodness! And well, that's an absolute disaster, and an Adam Delmont also being in that as well. We take a look back from what's the perspective of Dimitri Coulon, who I think at this point had no place to act. So 2 by 2 they went, and you can see here Sheraton turns in on the cutback run, and then Coulon gets caught as well, getting ready to take evasive action, but caught across the front of Delmont. And well, 4 of our major players inside this top 10, and really the stars of the day, have all been wiped out of this race in the space of literally 3 quick corners. And well, my goodness, as that has come to a close there, well, right now it's crazy to think that Marcel Fritsch, we said earlier on, could he keep everybody behind him in the pro class? He may do exactly that at this rate, and he could be on course, not just for what would be his first ever top 10, but also technically his first ever pro class win if there was officially a pro class race, albeit it's an overall race. But I think Fritsch will take pride in the fact if he can keep Leon and Benjamin McCluskey behind him, then it will be an opportunity for him to be able to say that he was the best of the pros here in race number 3 today, and good on him if he can do it in the number 7, no doubt about it. Given he's been constantly pushing time and time again, all the time he's been in the NXTCC, and it's great to see him being up there enjoying himself, even if it's as a result of a reverse grid. It doesn't matter, he's been in the right place and he deserves it just as much as everybody else. But Lee Horn and Benjamin McCluskey would love to have something to say about that as they head through turn number 8 and onwards towards the banking, and as they make the way around Russell Fowler in P9. Well, right now he's fallen out of this battle to a small degree, but I think McCluskey and Horn are getting ready to fight one another once again. And as they head on through the left-hander, we'll have to wait to see exactly who's going to have the bigger priority for Lee Horn. Will it be fend on McCluskey, or will it be chasing down Marcel Fritsch and trying to gain both places should McCluskey come on through as well? As they come on towards turn number 15, making the way on through. Further down the order, Gavin Gardner enjoying a bit of battling here with what is Sam Smith in the fight for P20 as they make the way through turn number 6 in towards 7. 2 wide they go. Very different lines there, but giving each other plenty of racing room. And Gardner will get the move made versus the Honda of Smith. Lovely battling there, but Gardner showing his pro expertise and taking another position. McCluskey versus Horn into turn 1. We come back to that just in time. McCluskey getting the run into the opening corner onto lap 10 they've gone. And as he goes left into right here, McCluskey now will be unleashed to chase down Marcel Fritsch and then try to carve his way through the prime field as quickly as he can, given the fact that our top 5 is all primes at the moment. And well, that would be a historical moment because we've never had what is an all top 5 of prime drivers. I think we've had an all prime overall podium in race number 3 before. I think last season that did occur unless I'm mistaken, but we've never seen it where all the top 5 is dominated by pro-ams. As they make the way on through turn number 8. Right now McCluskey will take them one at a time, and as he heads on through left-hander upwards he'll go towards the chicane and know that all the speed is with him, but Russell Fowler and Lee Horn are also following him. Fowler's still there, and meanwhile, quick update on Matt Emmons. Here's the Runner Motorsport Honda, and the number 72 is still going strong, albeit back down to P13. So therefore, I think P13, unlucky for some, but it might be where the highest ever AM overall finish is going to be transfixed to at this point. As me, I was looking at my commentary booth window, Sam Smith is leaving the pit lane after that altercation, well, after what was a battle with Gavin Gardner, but something's gone very wrong for Smith. And well, that's happened off camera since the Gardner battle. And well, now for Matt Evans just carrying on here. Now he's got a 6-second gap to Jay Pitt, and with Pitt only closing approximately 2 tenths a lap, if that. In fact, Evans gaining time on him the last time round. I think he'll be happy just to take it on home. As meanwhile, well, we had that question of would McCluskey get close to Marcel Fritsch? He has. He's already passed him into turn 1. Lee Horn now side by side. It's the battle between the Brit and the Austrian as they come down into turn number 3. You can see that Russell Fowler thinking about it as well, but can't quite do so as Fritsch goes a little bit wide. We jump aboard, but Russell Fowler is going to play it smart here. He's going to go for one. Horn immediately covers him off, but Fowler's got the right to the inside there. If he can go for it, he can't quite. So Marcel Fritsch backs out to make sure that they all make it through the corner, but at the same time, Russell Fowler really going for it there. And credit where it's due, the 61 drive saw a door was open, and he couldn't quite keep it open for long enough to make a 2-for-1 pass. But coming on through, what is their turn at number 8 and in towards 9. Well, Marcel Fritsch and Toby Prosser still right behind him there as they head onwards towards the chicane, and Prosser staying in the hunt and looking to try and make a move. But as they head in towards what is the left into right, well, it's going to be an absolute challenge here for Prosser to try and pick his way through Fritsch, but given the mind that they'll all be in the slipstream of one another as they make the way on towards the second part of the oval banking. But rolling on through, we'll have to wait and see as our leader goes on to what will be at lap number 12 as I look at my content booth window. And Will Prosser right now still in the chase here, staying inside the top 10 overall, but he'd love to try and take that P6 in the prime class off of Russell Fowler, who's 2 places up the road. But from them, we look to Mitchell West, battling here with Kevin Smith for P5 in the AM class. Behind is Slammy Jarvosky, and that's gone very wrong, and Kevin Smith is turned up into Mitchell West, and it looked as though there was contact from the front of Jarvosky's car to what was Kevin Smith, and that propelled him upwards on the banking. And for the second time in this race, Kevin Smith's race is brought to a horrendous halt. And well, we take a look back at what exactly happened, and riding on board here, Slammy Jarvosky overspeed, hits the rear of him. It's a gentle push, but in the end it's enough, and it turns Smith upwards. And well, so unfortunate there. And the number 99 driver, I don't think he meant to, but at the same time I do wonder if he realised the closing speeds or whether it was too late. But as we return to your live pictures, well, right now no more races in sight today after this one, and well, not many more laps left. And as Katie says in the Facebook chat, no luck for Kevin Smith at all in the Brano Motorsport Honda, the second one of them being out of this race now, or at least in the pit lane, having been towed there. And well, what else is there to wait and see other than these big battles at the midpoint to the bottom end of the top 10? And well, Benjamin McCluskey's picked off one prime inside the top 5, and that was Matthew Addy, who fell by the wayside off camera only moments ago. But now he's going to try and pick his way past James Smazesgow for P4. But Smazesgow here under pressure. Here comes McCluskey, and when McCluskey's done it once into this corner, he's done it twice into this corner, and now he's going to do it 3 times in terms of making moves into turn number 1. McCluskey absolutely seems to love that run from the final chicane into turn 1, and just absolutely gets it right every time. Look at the gap he's already pulled at Smazesgow, albeit there drifted very wide out of 3 into 4. He's got to be careful of that, given there's a lot less grip the further out you run out of 3 into 4, but he just about collects it together, and McCluskey is absolutely hustling right now. The fastest lap of the race has just gone to Wojciech Swirydowicz at 24.594, but the point being here that he's absolutely on a mission himself, is McCluskey. Is meanwhile Matthew Addy back there with Lee Horn, and Horn goes around the outside. Addy drops to P7. Russell Fowler on his rear now as they head up towards what will be at turns at 10, 11, 12 and 13. As they make the way on the bank in a 9, well, Addy has got the company of Russell Fowler behind. That's Dimitri Coulon staying high and backing off the throttle on the blue flags. We can also see their Marcel Fritsch in P9 staying with them as they head on to the brakes, but brilliant battling inside the top 10. And as he comes out to the right into left, well, right now no change inside this group beyond what is Benjamin McCluskey gaining places. And well, as they head onwards towards what will be the final lap, here is your race leader, the white flag waves, and well, he's got Roy Plummer behind him, but he'll recognise that Roy Plummer's a lap down. Alex Meredith right now with 7 seconds to his name ahead of Alan McCain. It feels as though this race is entirely going his way. As McCain heads in towards the left hand, he's got Harley Bicknell close, but not quite close enough. They're matching each other lap time, but it's not enough. Meanwhile, here's a 2 wide. This is Matthew Addy and Russell Fowler. The battle of the 2 Audis. Addy on the outside there are 2. Tucks in mind as Russell Fowler does pick up the P5 in the Pro-Am class. And was it come down for 3 in towards 4. Marcel Fritsch under pressure from Toby Prosser. In terms of other battles out there, well, we do have it. Oh, goodness me, is that a bit of an error there for Toby Prosser? I think it is, or in fact, that's an error from Marcel Fritsch, and Prosser has to take evasive action. Fritsch going a little bit deep and slow, and well, as he comes on through what is turn 6 in towards 7, and now into 8. Well, Marcel Fritsch still keeping his head down and doing everything right to make sure he gets the top 10 overall finish, and also keep some of those pesky primes at bay. And once he makes his way up through, Toby Prosser grinding the wall there. You'd hear just a brief rub against the wall on the distant circuit microphone. From then we look back to Smazesgow, who's not got long to hold on. He's just got the chicane and then one more after that. Both Lee Horn, Russell Fowler, Matthew Addy all queuing up behind him. But as he makes his way on through, goes a bit deep there, and here comes Lee Horn. We have to cut away to your race leader, ladies and gentlemen, because he makes his way into the final 2 corners. In race 1, it all went horribly wrong. Race 2, it was all about the recovery, and in race 3, he's back on top as Alex Meredith takes the overall win, and Brian Wynn to make it his 3rd ever overall win of his campaign. Alan McCain comes home P2 overall in prime class for iRacing Esports, and it's an all-prime overall podium with Harley Bicknell back on the prime podium there for JW Motorsport, P3 ahead of Benjamin McCluskey. James Pascal comes home P5 ahead of Lee Horn, who pips Russell Fowler to the line. Matthew Addy P8 ahead of Marcel Fridge, who takes his 1st ever top 10 overall and his best ever result with it for WS Racing Esports. Tony Prosser P10, Liam Silkstone, Matthew Sheraton, and then Matt Emmons makes it another AM win, and practically a perfect night for the 72 driver for Brano Motorsport. Absolutely faultless, and also matching the best ever overall finishing position for an AM driver in the race 3 of the day. P13 to match what James Pascal achieved at Watkins Glen in season 6. We then got the top 15 being rounded off by Jamie Dory and Wojciech Swirydowicz, with neither driver really able to make progress in this final race of the day, but a challenging set of races here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and this Roval circuit taking no prisoners. We've still got Sam Bernals to finish his race, as we have Dylan Mistry as they head to line, and a special mention as well to Mark Kent, who's taken 2nd place in what is the AM class off camera. And in fact, here is Mark Kent on his cool down lap, and a positive end to the day, but not the day he wanted. And meanwhile, on his return to the grid as of today for season 7, Dylan Mistry comes on through to take 3rd place in the AM class with P25, and he'll be the last lead lap finisher, the 280 driver, doing everything right at the end there. But as we can see, Alex Meredith coming down to pit lane will be the winner's circle for him, no doubt about it, and an absolutely faultless race, taking the lead and never looking back, and that's why he definitely is one of the forces to be reckoned with in the Prime Championship. Alan McCain as well, a consistent day today for the iRacing Esports driver, and Harley Bicknell, well, back on the circuit, up into Prime, and it hasn't daunted him at all, and that P3 here will definitely give him a good set of points to start off his championship campaign in season 7. But as they all make their way down, well, a big mention to this man, Marcel Fridge, who whilst he couldn't be the leading pro at the end of this race, a P9 overall, he's worked hard and earned his 1st ever top 10 in the NXTCC. And into Matt Emmons here, AM winner, and I do believe making it 3 AM wins out of 3. And well, the Brano Motorsport driver is exactly what he needed, and he's got it at the perfect time. As we do look to the scenic view, and the sun begins to set here in what is the town of Conrod. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. And after a fantastic 3rd and final race of round 4 of the NXTCC Season 7 powered by Doble Motorcycles, Alex Meredith taking the win for Whiskey Runners Race in his 3rd ever overall win, and another win to add to his Prime Trophy cabinet ahead of iRacing Esports' Alan McCain by 6.5 seconds. Then it was Harley Bicknell, P3 for JW Motorsport, a further 1.5 seconds behind, who had the rising presence of Benjamin McCluskey for NextGen Pink, but not enough laps for the NextGen Pink driver to make it onto the overall podium. James Pascal, P5 for Aztec Racing in another solid day of racing for the 660 driver, keeping Lee Horn behind just about by 2 tenths, who took P6 for Sam Case for the NextGen. Performance Link Esports' Russell Fowler, P7 there in another good performance, having moved to the Prime class as of this round and immediately showing his comfort in the Prime class, head of Matthew Addy for Sam Case for the NextGen in their hard-fought battle, 3 tenths between the two of them at the end. Marcel Fritsch, P9 for WS Racing Esports in what is his best ever result of his NXTCC career, and of course a top 10 with it, and a P9 at that. And then Toby Prosser, P10, completing this top 10 and really feeling comfortable inside the top 10 today, as well as the Aztec Racing driver. Liam Silkstone, P11 there for SR NextGen Gold, best of rest ahead of Matthew Sheraton for Aztec Racing, and then for Brano Motorsports, Matt Emmons, the AM winner, 3 AM wins out of 3, and back-to-back overall points finishes with P13 in races 2 and 3. Jamie Dory and Wojciech Swirydowicz completed your overall top 15 there in a difficult final race of the day, not quite able to make the progress they would like. Mark Sykes P16, a bit of an anomalous day today for the Sam Case for NextGen driver, but still there getting some good points at the end in class with a P10 in the Prime class. And then P17 to Ben Altrier for Full Tilt V Motorsport ahead of Jake Pitt for Aztec Racing, with your top 20 being completed by Laurice Pascucci and Gavin Gardner. Ian Manners, P21, the JW Motorsport driver, in the end finding himself right in the thick of it and it not quite working out the way he wanted it to. The same for Adam McNally and Mark Kent, their run-up in the AM class in P23, but knowing what could have been today if it all started off the right way in race number 1. But still, recovering to finish on the podium twice in the AM class, the full tilt Motorsport driver can't become too disheartened because the luck will turn his way one day. Sam Van Olds, P24, ahead of Dylan Mystery, who took his first AM podium of the season with that P25 for Aztec Racing and the last lead lap finisher. And there was a lap down to a whole host of drivers, including to complete your top 30, Roy Plummer, Adam Delmont, Dimitri Coulon, Andrew Pike and Andy Fox, after that horrific incident for Dimitri Coulon, Andrew Pike and Adam Delmont as well. What was the turn 10 3 to 13 chicane with only 4 laps to go. Tom Davison, P31 there, also lapped down, and the same for Slamir Jarvosky and Daniel Fritz. But then we could see after Daniel Fritz, 2 laps down to Jonathan Collins, and also, in fact, Sam Smith between them, I should say, and then Jonathan Collins, and then it was 5 laps down to Kevin Smith, who in the end just didn't have anything go right today, unfortunately for him, but still classified as a finisher, as was Mitchell West and Mitch West Performance after they're coming together. Sam Bradley, P38 there, 8 laps down, and the first of the non-finishers, as he did not complete over half the race distance, and the same applies there to Michael Lees, Piotr Jagoslewski, Nick Clemens, Lewis Mason, Costa Chatskontanantu, Duncan Moraes and Reese Watt, in what has been our lowest number of classified finishers in an NXTCC race in the history of this series. We had 45 starters, and in the end, a grand total, I do believe, of what was 37 finishers, or I should say, as a percentage of number of finishers from the starting field, but definitely a race of attrition, despite there being no safety car at any point. Indeed, despite the close proximity of the walls at Charlotte, most of the incidents clearing themselves rather rapidly, and no safety car to be seen as a result. But with that, that wraps up our racing here today in the US of A, and our only visit to the US of A for this season. But of course, it doesn't wrap up our show, because shortly we are going to be getting underway with our post-round interviews with our selected volunteer drivers. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get set for those. Do let us know in the meantime in your respective chat what has been your favourite moment or moments of the racing today, and we'll be back in approximately 10 to 11 minutes time for our post-round interviews. We will see you very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for us to kick off our post-round interviews and what have been 3 very intense races. Indeed, we're going to be hearing from a driver from each of the classes today to give you the full flavour of the experience up and down the order in terms of what our drivers thought and what not. And we're going to be starting off very shortly with our Pro-Am class driver who had difficult fortunes across the day until race number 3 saw everything come his way. That's in the form of Harley Bicknell for JW Motorsport. And then we're going to turn to the Am class for our dominant driver today, who we incorrectly said had taken all 3 wins, not quite, but had taken 2 out of 3, and that's Matt Emmons for Verano Motorsport. And then we'll come to Andrew Pike for the Sim Racing Collective in the Pro class to summarise it all together in what was a great night for him, bar race number 3. But without further ado, joining me now in the interview room is none other than Harley Bicknell. Good evening to you, Harley. And it's great, firstly, to see you back on the grid, but how was it being back in the thick of it tonight?
Hello, good evening, Paul. Yeah, it was really good to be back. Some really good racing tonight, and yeah, it's just good to see everyone again as well. So very happy to be back.
Oh, without a doubt, you've been massively missed in your absence since the midpoint of Season 6, albeit coming back onto the grid this season, not back in the Am class, but immediately back into the thick of it with what is the Pro-Am class. And I have to ask, how have you found it being part of the second tier of our racing group?
Yeah, really good, especially since there's some really quick AMs. I mean, especially today. And in practice and stuff, there's some really quick AMs now, so I'm glad I'm not fighting for that championship anymore. But yeah, it's good being in Pro-Am. It doesn't make much difference to the race, but I guess it makes a difference to who you pick your battles with and stuff. So I feel more entitled to fight with Pro-Ams now than I did last season.
And I have to say, in regards to picking your fights, I mean, you had to think about picking your fights quite early on, given qualifying saw you take P27 overall, P16 in class. How was qualifying for you? Because it looked as though a lot of people really struggled to put a good lap together here.
Yeah, I mean, I've not had the 1 lap pace at all here. So I was relying on staying out of incidents and being smart about who I battled with today. So I was actually quite happy with the quali result, to be honest, and with it being the first session back as well, I'm still getting used to racing with other cars on track and stuff. So I was happy with quali overall, and I wasn't really paying attention to positions, but yeah, it was definitely difficult because it's quite a short track and there's a lot of us, so it's difficult to get a clean lap in.
Well, despite the fact that you might have started a bit further down the order than some, like you say, still happy with the qualifying, and immediately in race number 1, we saw a lot of carnage and chaos in front of you, but you managed to steer clear of most of the danger and made your way all the way through to a P14 finish, P7 in Pro-Am class. I mean, a great start to your championship campaign.
Yeah, the start of the race was very hectic, and I knew that we'd have to slow down. I mean, we're told before the races to slow down for incidents ahead, and that's exactly what I did. Backed right out the throttle a lot of times. Luckily, it seems like people behind me also backed out, so I don't know what caused all the carnage, but it seems like people dealt with the yellow flag as well. And yeah, I slowed down, lost a lot of places in the process, but ultimately found a way through and didn't get any damage on the car or anything like most other people did. So it was just a case of stay out of trouble, and yeah, the being slower on lap pace didn't really matter in the end.
Well, steering clear of the danger, and in the end, like you say, slowing down for those instants as everybody was told to do so before we went racing. And I also have to imagine that with it being the first race, 14 laps of racing and whatnot, you're back behind the helm of the venerable Hyundai Elantra that seems to do you very well in Season 6. Did it feel as though after a while it's almost as if you haven't been away?
I don't think I could say that. I mean, the tyre model's changed since I last raced, which is something I'm still getting used to. It's quite different. I really like the Elantra. It feels like I haven't driven any of the other TCRs, to be honest. I just bought the Elantra when I started sim racing and stuck with it. But it takes the curbs well, which I like. It's quite a forgiving car. I find it quite easy to drive generally. It's probably not the best car for the quickest guys who like to get it rotated more in the corners, but for me, who want something a little bit safer, it's perfect. But yeah, it definitely feels a little bit alien jumping back in. I've done a couple of races in the build-up and officials, but it's never quite the same until you get back into this big grid with such a competitive field.
Oh, 100%. And going from race number 1 into race number 2. Race 2 in the end saw you finish a bit further back, P20 overall, P11 in prime class. Looked as though you ended up in quite a lot of the thick of the fight in there, and in the end just not quite able to maintain your position.
Yeah, I think there was less chaos in race 2, which didn't play into my hands. I think I was relying on incidents a lot today. And like I said, I was probably half a second a lap slower than a lot of the guys around me. It is a difficult track to overtake on, but when you get put offline, someone makes a move and you're offline, it's really hard. I mean, it's hard anywhere, but it's especially hard here to get back into the flow. So I think I got overtaken a couple of times and lost multiple places, but managed to sneak back into the top 20 right at the end because of a couple of incidents ahead. So I was happy with it, actually. It was a really difficult race, but I was happy with the way I defended safely, even if it meant that I got overtaken. It was worth not getting put in a wall.
Oh, without a doubt, because you have to finish the race at the end of the day if you want to bag the positions and points. But talking about happy moments, of course, happy with how race 2 went. And I can imagine even happier when you heard that you would be our pole sitter for race 3.
No, not at all. I was watching the stream and I was like, please don't pull a 12 out of that box. Yeah, it was terrifying. I've not started anywhere near. I don't think I've ever started in the top 20 probably. So it was an experience, and I expected it to be difficult, and it really was a difficult race. But in the end, I managed to pull some better lap speed together, managed to get into the 25s. I think I did a couple of mid 25s and just managed to pull away from people battling behind me, I think.
Well, it was a solid drive from yourself in race number 3, no doubt about it, to take your first overall and also pro and podium in your NXTCC career. And I also have to imagine, like you say, finally breaking into those 25s over the course of the race distance, it must have been a bit of an experience to be following the likes of, say, Alex Meredith and also what was Alan McCain there, and perhaps picking up little things here and there as you went.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had a good practice session last night where I was having some good battles with the likes of Meredith and Jamie, Dory and other people. So I think the practice last night really paid off. But it was, yeah, the first half of the race was difficult. I was probably looking in my relative too much. Meredith got me in the first corner, I think, and he was gone. You know, I couldn't keep up with him. I think I stayed in the tow for a little bit to help me at the start. But and yeah, Alan McCain was quicker than me, but I managed to hang on to him a bit better. And then really it was, I think it was Smaggersgale and Matthew Addy behind me having a good battle. And I think their battling probably meant that I could just keep the gap. It was never much more than a second or two, but towards the end of the race, I started to put in a couple of mid 25s, high 25s, and that just helped me to pull away. I think I had speed in very different places to Smaggersgale behind me, but yeah, I managed to just find a bit of pace in the end, and McCluskey was closing in very, very quickly on the last lap. I think the race ended at the right time for me. I think he probably would have got me in one more lap. He was very quick, but luckily other people seemed to have held him up enough that I could pull off the podium. And yeah, I'm very, very happy with it.
Well, so you should be indeed. A well-earned third place in our final race of the day. And of course, that being at round number 4. And in a week's time, we head to Belgium, however, for a very different format, a 60-minute feature race, albeit a mandatory pit stop as well. How are you feeling for a visit to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in this 1 hour special?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love Spa. I can't say I'm very good at it, and I've never driven it in a touring car, but I'm really looking forward to it. I really like longer races, to be honest. I think, I'm not sure if it'll suit me or not yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I need to get some practice in. But yeah, I think it'll be, we maybe see different people come to the front in that one. Different people that are better in the longer races, maybe better at managing the tyres or better at taking the pit stops and that kind of thing. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Maybe we'll see the grid shaking up a little bit.
Well, we'll have to wait to see how that shake-up plays out and how you factor into it. But just before we do let you go, Harley, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout-out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Well, thank you to you and to the league for letting me back in mid-season. I know it's a lot of people want to race in this league, so I appreciate being able to join again after needing to take some time out. And yeah, thank you to the JWM boys, because I wouldn't be racing in this league if it wasn't for them. They're great to hang around with, and we have some fun together. We get to rant a bit together, and we also enjoy our moments together. So yeah, it's, thanks to all of them.
Well, I'm glad to hear that the spirit down in the JW Motorsport Garage is as strong as ever, and indeed you're a big part of the JWM family, no doubt about that. But with that, Harley, it's a pleasure to have you back on the grid, and thank you for joining me in the interview room this evening. We'll leave you to it for now, but once again, congratulations on your results today, and we will see you in Belgium in a week's time.
Thanks a lot, Paul. See you later.
So hearing there from Harley Bicknell, a very happy Pro-Am driver for JW Motorsport, no doubt about it. And it's so good to hear him back on the grid and talking about his experiences there and the fact having to get back behind the wheel and get comfortable once again. And whilst may not be overly comfortable with the Hyundai Elantra, getting himself back up to speed and gradually finding the time as he went through the evening, and noting there as well that whilst he was not perhaps on the pace in qualifying, he expected to be down the order and in the end just keep himself out of trouble in the races, and he'd make the places, and race 1 it articulated that to a T. Albeit race number 2, a much more static race, and we got to see some phenomenal battling in race number 2, no doubt about it, but that's where we did see the pace that Harley had compared to his rivals really become exposed. But then with the reverse grid draw seeing him put on pole for race number 3, he couldn't quite hold on to lead. We saw Alex Meredith charge through right at the start, but the reverse stat being still, he was able to get his head down, find a bit more pace and hold on to P3 with Benjamin McCluskey right on his heels but needing one more lap. But unfortunately there wasn't 15 laps today, only 14, and that's what enabled Harley to bring home that final spot in the overall and the Pro-Am podium. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from our first interviewee, but it's now time for us to go to our second interviewee, and we're going to be coming to our AM driver from Verano Motorsport, and that is going to be none other than Matt Emmons, who gets ready to join me in the interview room. And well, as we get ready to bring him on in, we'll get to hear the story of a man who's definitely had the lion's share of the AM points today. And well, as he does now join me in the interview room, good evening to you once again, Matt. I know it's only a little time since we spoke to you in preparation for race number 3, but I mean, now you're on the other side of all 3 races, 2 class wins, 2 P13s overall, so 2 sets of overall points, and a P2 in class in race number 1. It's not quite perfection, but it comes pretty close, and I'm sure there might be a small smile on your face.
A small smile. It's more like a big smile, if I'm honest, considering I came into this race wanting damage limitation, thinking that it was going to be, how can I put it nicely, an accident-filled race and safety car-filled race, and especially in race 1 when I got a meatball flag and had to do a fast repair to come back out of that and finish P2 and then a double P1, like you said, 2 P13s. I can't help but smile, if I'm honest.
Oh, absolutely fantastic to hear that. And well, let's dial it back to a degree, because you're talking about this being really a damage limitation round the way you came into it. And in qualifying, P33 overall, P4 in class. At one point in the early stages, we did see you on provisional pole in the AM class and just inside the top 30. But it looked as though qualifying was a session of 2 halves. The first half you were very strong, but the second half, it was the occasional driver found a lot of pace, and it came out of nowhere for some, but was nowhere for others.
I think a lot of people pitted for tyres like halfway through, because I know it's quite a few drivers halfway through the session on slow down laps and stuff like that coming out the pits. And I think the people that struggled at the end were using the old tyres, because there were, to me, others might argue with me on this, but I felt like there was quite a big cliff, shall we say, of how the tyres performed. A second half of the qualifying, I just understeered everywhere and I couldn't grip, but by the time I'd realised what to do, I think there was 4 minutes left of the session, and I didn't have time really to come into the pits, change tyres and come back out and set one last lap.
I see. A bit unfortunate there in terms of the timing in on the pit stop and tyre strategy for qualifying, but still, taking what you got from qualifying and moving forward with it. Race number 1, of course, we did see quite a bit of chaos in the midfield, but you seemed to the most part be able to steer clear of it initially and then ended up with that pesky meatball flag. but then made the recovery. Just take us through what race 1 was like for you.
Damage limitation, thinking, well, I've got a meatball, don't know where I am in class, I can't see any of the Rams. Just keep my head down, just score some good points, take it into race 2 and see what I can do from there. And when I came across the line to get message saying I was P2, I was thinking, well, how? It's unheard of to have a meatball and come back out and, you know, finish P2. Which it kind of gave me a bit of confidence, thinking, well, I must have some good pace around here, you know. And I thought, well, it's got to be, how can I put it, a launch pad for me to go into race 2 and think, well, I've got the pace, I must have the pace. I can push on from here and get even better.
And we'll push it on with regards to that pace and feeling as though things can get better and better. Of course, chasing down that P2 finish, and in the end, like you mentioned earlier, the fact you couldn't quite believe it when you crossed the line to know it was P21 and a P2. In race number 2, it just seems as though everything lined up perfectly. Your main rival fell down the order very quickly in the form of Daniel Fritz. The rest of the Anfield couldn't quite keep with you, and those who did ended up battling more and more with primes and pros around, and you just seemed to find your way into P13.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it at P13, I'm thinking, all I could think of was, I'm in reverse grid draw here. I'm in reverse grid draw here. Just keep focused, keep the gaps in front of me, behind me. I'm not battling anyone. Just keep doing what I'm doing. Don't make any silly mistakes. And yeah, like you say, to finish P13 as an AM, at the time, I didn't think it was unheard of until, like we said, James put in the chat that he finished P13 last year in Watkins Glen. But I think it's just been the nature of this track tonight. There's been a lot of accidents, a lot of cars having to use fast repairs, etc., etc. So it's just been, I think, a bit of luck more than anything. But don't get me wrong, I'll take luck all day long.
Well, a bit of fortune came your way, but also you had to steer clear of the danger and keep it consistent every step of the way. And then we had the number P20 drawn from the Lottery Bowl. Of course, meaning you'd start P8, and you mentioned the fact you're excited for it and seeing what you could do. And in the early stages of the race number 3, it really looked as though you're going to give it everything to try to hold on to a top 10. But I suspect there was a voice in your head at some point that said, look, put up a fight, but don't overdo it, because you're going to throw away some huge points if this goes wrong.
No, actually, I made a mistake battling with Lee Horn into the final chicane, and we ended up coming together. I got spun around. I dropped down to about P16, and when I got back to P13, I was thinking, right, I can do this. Cheverton's in front of me. Matthew Cheverton's in front of me. 5-second gap. I know I've got damage, but I know I can try and catch him. So I was pushing, to say the least. I think I clipped the wall at the chicane about 3 or 4 times consecutively in laps.
Well, pushing hard, and Lee keeping you honest every step of the way. And with regards to those walls as well, I mean, obviously, from our perspective on the cameras, sometimes it looks like the gentlest of taps to the wall, and yet you pick up huge damage. Other times, it's really clear it's a major shunt. I mean, what's it like as a driver? Because I'm sure you had a few rubs with the wall, and of course, what happened there with regards to the car in race number 3. How can you sort of tell the difference between you're going to have a big impact versus, oh, it's a small graze and I can get away with this?
One word, panic. See, in race 1, I brushed the wall and that's when I got the meatball flag out of the chicane, and I feel like I didn't hit it hard. Race 3, when I hit it 3 or 4 times, I think I'm hitting it harder, but I'm not getting it. So I think it's all down to the angle you hit it, so to speak, and if you hit it front or rear axle and stuff like that. I mean, to me, I can never tell if it's going to be a big accident or, well, I can tell if it's going to be a big accident if I'm carrying too much speed. How I'm driving the car, if I'm on the brakes, etc., etc. But yeah, it's hard work to tell, especially with this new damage model. You just don't know how you're going to come out the other side of it.
Well, that unpredictability, and therefore needing to keep it as safe as possible and just not make any contact at all. But moving away from damage and coming back to what was a glorious run to the finish line, it must have felt as though coming around for the second time to see that checker flag and make it back to back and wins, and a P13s with it, that it's been a brilliant day and all.
It's been, I think, the best day I've ever had in NXTCC. I think it's been, I've had the good battles with proms I never thought at the beginning of any of the seasons that I'd be having, and they've all been respectful. None of them have over-raced me, so to speak, because I know we're battling on track for position, but I'm more thinking of class. So I know my limit of how hard I can push them and how hard I hope they will push me. But yeah, it kept me on my toes, and it made it a really, really fun and exciting night for me in the end.
Well, you definitely sound as though you enjoyed yourself, and as we make our way towards the halfway point of the season, we've got one more round before we do have the mid-season break, and that of course is in a week's time, our 1 hour special for the first time in the NXTCC's history at Spa-Francorchamps. How are you feeling for the longer distance race?
Fine. I prefer my long distance racing more over the short, because I feel like if I make a mistake, I've got more time to catch back up and try and have damage limitations, my favourite word this season. However, I'm not looking forward to having just seen the provisional results, seeing I'm P1 in class now, so I'm going to have P1 ballast, I think. So that's going to make it interesting for me for an hour, trying to keep this weight on and keep the car in control, because I must admit that last race, when I had P1 ballast for the first time this season, it was slightly difficult. I had to change the way I drove the car completely, brake a lot earlier, control it a lot easier, be a lot smoother. It really kept me on my toes. But yeah, I think it'll be a good race next week. There's a lot of corners that will suit the TCR. I just hope I can keep my lead coming out next week.
Well, like you say, you definitely will, as far as I'm aware, be taking that P1 success ballast into next week based on the provisional results. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we'll pop those up on screen a little bit later. But with that in mind, Matt, and plenty of preparation to go ahead, just before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Starters, you as always, Paul. You make the me watching the streams the next day back absolutely brilliant to watch, so thank you. Everyone at NXTGEN, thank you for hosting yet another brilliant season of touring cars, and everyone at Verano for supporting us. Yeah, that's about it. And thanks to Kev for all his support this season. It's been brilliant. He's kept me cool when I needed to. He's helped me more than anything he knows.
And just a quick word on Kevin Smith. Of course, it's not gone his way at all today after what have been 3 races that have really been races to perhaps forget. And it's sad, and just to repeat what you mentioned earlier in your pre-race interview of race 3, by the sounds of things, he's not going to be on the grid for the rest of this season, but I'm sure he'll be tuned in from the sidelines throughout.
I should hope so. And knowing Kev, he'll watch the streams when he gets a chance, and if I do anything wrong or anything like that, he'll be the first one to drop me an angry message if it's anything bad or anything like that.
That's absolutely fair. We will miss him on the grid, no doubt about that. But you'll still have, of course, the company of Craig Tillotson, your other teammate of Roval Motorsport. We look forward to seeing the effort that you two put on for the Teams Championship just as much as your solo effort in the AM Championship. But with that, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room, no doubt about it, this evening. And congratulations once again on your fantastic set of performances, particularly those back-to-back class wins and equaling the best ever AM overall finishing position in a race. We look forward to seeing what you can bring to the table at Spa-Francorchamps. But until then, have a fantastic evening. You deserve it. And, well, we see you in a week's time.
Thank you very much, Paul.
So hearing it there from Matt Emmons, a jubilant Verano Motorsport driver in the number 72. It's absolutely gone the right way, no doubt about it. And well, you can see him there weaving the car from side to side on his cool down lap, celebrating what has been a phenomenal night. Of course, success brings hardships in this series, and he will be going into the next round with the maximum success ballast that the AMs can take. But at the same time as well, it'll be a longer race, and perhaps he'll be able to use that success ballast to his advantage, indeed, in terms of adapting to it faster and managing the tyres. But we will have to wait and see what the Verano Motorsport 72 driver can do in the AM class, because it's a long journey ahead. But right now, Matt Emmons for Verano Motorsport is definitely showing that he is one of the title contenders, and in what was meant to be a damage limitation round, he's done the maximum possible damage instead to his rivals, albeit in terms of championship points. But then coming on to our final interview, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be hearing very shortly from none other and then what will be one of our pro drivers, and our pro driver who we're going to be hearing from will be none other than Andrew Pike, who gets ready to join me in the interview room. And well, as he does get ready to join me, of course, some fantastic racing throughout today, and well, it's great to hear from our 2 drivers so far talking about what has been their experiences and enjoying mixing it up with our drivers up and down the order. But let's hear from one more driver with regards to his experiences all the way through the day. and we're going to be hearing from Andrew Pike. Just give us a brief moment. I do believe we might have just had a slight technical issue decide to rear its ugly head, but once we fix that, there we go. It has been removed, and now Andrew Pike is going to join me in the interview room. As he does join me now, good evening to you, Andrew, and well, what a day of racing that you've had, no doubt about it, albeit race number 3 perhaps not going your way, but a win in race 2, a P4 in race 1, and a solid qualifying performance. I mean, the Sim Racing Collective banner has flown high, and you've been at the tip of the spear at Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, good evening, Bob. Thank you. It has been all right. As you say, race 3 was a bit spicy there, but the first 2 went pretty well. I didn't get the best start in race 1. My teammate got turned by some slightly careless driving ahead, and that held me back. But just managed to cut through because of people having problems ahead of me. I saw Wojciech in the pits, Benjamin McCluskey was in the pits as well. I assume both with damage, which allowed me to sort of scrape my way through to 4, which I didn't really expect, to be honest. And then second, yeah, it was just all about the launch. Boys ahead of me didn't get a very good start. I managed to get away well, and then I knew I had to nail every single lap. Del was quicker than me. Once Wojciech caught him, he was quicker than me as well. It was a little bit hanging on towards the end. Didn't really have the pace to deserve to be there, I don't think, but a win's a win, and I think anybody would take that.
Well, like you say, a win's a win, and well, a well-deserved one, given it all came down to the launch off the line and then just simply being in the right place to hold on to that lead. But just before we come onto the races one by one, let's talk a little bit about the qualifying session. Of course, a P18 qualifying in perhaps one of our strangest qualifying sessions to date. The reason I say that, of course, being firstly, we didn't see as many cars within a second of the pole sitter in the end. And on top of that as well, it looked as though qualifying was of 2 halves. A lot of drivers nailed their opening laps in the first half, but after the tyre change in the pit stop, a very limited few seemed to find the extra time out there. How did you find qualifying?
Kind of struggled a little bit most of the season, but that's on me. I don't seem to be able to get the best out of the car with the low grip and the weight on the car. It's not the car, because Mikey Doble's doing it, Wojciech's managing to do it. It's on me. I have found that changing tyres doesn't really work for me, and it takes a little bit too long to get them back in, and I wonder whether that's what has this evening. What I tend to favour is trying to run a couple of cool-down laps. It did look like the track got faster and the temperature dropped off a bit with the session, but I didn't manage to make the most of that, and I was thankful to be in the top 10 because it wasn't a great lap. I think because it's such a hard track, that's what caused the spread in pace. It's a lot harder for people to find the pace and to push some of the boundaries because of the walls. People naturally back off. Maybe even me to some extent as well. I didn't go absolutely gung-ho in case I put it in the fence. And then you've got to restart your run with full fuel again. So I think that's the major factor there is the track. But for me personally, I've been finding it hard, and it's biting me. Race pace has been generally okay, but I'm really struggling to get the thing towards the front. Try and work on that. I do look at the telemetry and try and work out what's going wrong for me, but some of it might just be sort of feel on the car. But it was a bit of a strange session, so I was glad to find myself as far forward as I was.
Well, despite the changes, like you say, to be happy to start P8 and going into race number 1, we did see a good start for yourself. You do seem to be making a habit of these good starts in the Honda City Type R. And after a few laps, pushing hard for a top 5 finish and in the end taking a P4. I mean, it did get scrappy for some outside the top 10, but it looked inside the top 10 at least. All was relatively clear. A couple of little rubs, but otherwise enjoying some solid racing.
Yeah, I mean, mostly it's good. You do learn who to give slightly more space and who you don't. There's people you can go door to door with. Sometimes it's just because of awareness, sometimes it's aggression, but generally speaking it was pretty clean for the most part. I did get tangled with Michael Leeson in race 1, which I'm still feeling a bit guilty about now because he qualified really well, and that ruined his night. But as I said to him when I messaged him, I kind of had a bit of a slide under braking, moved my car towards his, going into the chicane of the lap. We just sort of tanked the corner, and given that the tyres were cold, it spat him out into the fence. I did as much as I could not to hit him, but these things happen. But there was certainly a large amount of substantial crashes. Some of them are accidental, I think. Rather than people going for moves, it's just the nature of the track. I like that they picked this track. I think it might be Gaz that picked it. I mean, it's one of my favourites on here. It's absolutely mental. Definitely points towards the type of things that we've seen this evening, but we all know what we're signing up for there. It's always a risk. For my teammate Tom, got the poor end of that deal, getting caught out by a few things which arguably weren't all his fault. By contrast, I got relatively lucky in most cases, aside from race 3, of course.
Well, indeed, and we'll come a little bit closer to race 3 now by talking about race 2 and what was that superb start for yourself. I mean, the launch off the line was absolutely faultless to a T, leading after the open lap, and it looked as though for at least the first half of the race, you'll gradually open that gap up only to a couple of seconds, but in the second half, I have to ask, was it tyre wear or perhaps your rivals just starting to find a bit more pace? Because in the last 3 laps, the top 3, yourself, Adam Delman and Wojciech Swirydowicz, were separated by half a second, but it was their fighting between each other that enabled you just to keep away and take victory.
Yes, exactly, it was. If Wojciech hadn't have caught Del, I would have probably had a problem there because he's faster than me. I don't think it's tyre wear. Looking at the tyre wear after the race, I'm not really sure why my pace didn't. I think rather than my pace dropping off, Del got a bit faster. Whether that was because he was carrying P1 weight and burnt a bit of the fuel off maybe, but he was definitely quicker. I made one small mistake, which I think you even picked up on stream, around a tad wide, going onto the banking, and lost myself 3 or 4 tenths, which allowed him into the tow. But he's respectful, Del, and I know even when he was on right on my rear bumper, there was no risk of him going for anything daft. I just had to hope that Wojciech caught him up, which he did, and then just try not to drive in my mirrors, hold my line, and take the route I'm taking, knowing that I'm unlikely to be fired off in that battle. Luckily, Wojciech had a go, and it got me that gap. But like you say, it's all about the start of the race. Managed to quite consistently get the Honda moving without any wheel spin. And for me, the boys ahead all had a hard time there with that. So it's without that start, I don't know where I'd have been. And like I say, it's a slightly hollow win when Wojciech starts so far back and Mikey Doble's not here. But it's still, I said at the start of the season, I was aiming to pick up more than one win in a season for the first time. So to have the first one so early on, it's a good starting point.
Oh, 100%. And whilst you may consider it slightly hollow perhaps because of the absence of one of your main rivals, plus also Wojciech starting far back, you should also give yourself a pat on the back to maintain that consistency throughout race number 2, and well, in the end, just to be able to hold on as long as was needed. And in race number 3, of course, we saw plenty of great racing between yourself and your rivals. You may have started P20, but very quickly chasing down a top 10 finish. And then it all went wrong at a chicane, where it seemed as though 2 by 2 going in, and by the end of it, it was carnage coming out the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. I was pinned hard into the fence there. Slightly unfortunate one. I think some of it is the damage model on this game now. It's to tip the front wheel drive cars around very, very easily. However, I do feel like at times people on the outside are unwilling sometimes to yield. They know you're there, but they try and keep a foot in. And these are the things that can happen. Sadly, I've come off worse there, but there's been other times where I've got through unscathed and somebody else has come off worse. I mean, race 1's a good example. Tom was spun in front of me and was collected by all the traffic, and somehow I've managed to magic my way through that with no damage whatsoever. So it swings and roundabouts, and I could even potentially say it's karma there for the incident with Michael in race 1. So I won't hold any grudges on it, but it was unfortunate. I'd got a good start, as you say. Me and Del and Wojciech cut through pretty well. We were sort of sat around 13th, 14th when that all kicked off, but it was inevitable given how close we were all together and through the track. It's one of those things, sadly.
Well, it was unfortunate, but still, can't take away from the fact you got a great haul of points from races 1 and 2, and it means going into what will be round number 5 in a week's time, you sit in P5 in the championship provisionally, and right on the heels of Benjamin McCluskey for P4. There's still a long way to go, but so far, a solid season.
Yes, it is. I think it's between Wojciech and Mikey Doble. See, Mikey's going to miss a couple of rounds now, so it's going to be very hard for any of us, to do much about the pace of Swirydowicz. He's a cut above most of us. We'll likely go on and win it, but that doesn't. We won't all have a go at racing him and racing everyone around us, and there's a bit of a scrap, I think, E3 between the rest of us. Benji, the livery thief, is obviously the first person I'm aiming at there to catch up, but I've taken part in every season, NXTGEN, and I've found that just consistently trying to stay out of trouble, picking up points as you go along, and put yourself in with a shout going into the final round is the way to do things. I don't carry the weight well, as I said, so being the top 3 going into rounds from this point onwards is difficult. Tend to benefit sort of towards the end of the season. So sitting in 5th kind of suits me at the moment. I think I'll be interested to see how the weight's going to work going into the Spa race, because of course that's going to pit stop, so I'm not sure what they'll do in that regard, but I'm really looking forward to that one. Just try and sit in and around where I am now and just keep picking up points. Try not to take anybody out, help it. Continue enjoying myself. That's amazing. It's really good fun. It's a nice way to spend an evening.
Well, it sounds like a smart and sensible approach. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, that was just saying, I'm sure everyone else in the grid would agree. It's first and foremost, it's good fun, and that's what we're here for. And I think to remember that at times, it's, a lot of the things that happen definitely aren't personal. We make mistakes, things happen. It's all fun mostly, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. That's what it's all about, first and foremost, the fun. And like you say, sometimes it goes wrong, but it's never personal. And well, if it ever did get that way, we'd definitely intervene as admins here at NXTGEN and make sure the fun is the top priority. And well, you're giving us your thoughts, of course, about what's upcoming in Spa-Francorchamps in a week's time, but also just a quick thought on the fact that going into this season, you were the sole sim racing collective car on the grid. But of course, you've got Tom Davidson joining in the Pram class. He's put in some solid performances in the 2 rounds he's competed in so far, albeit plagued by bad luck today at Charlotte. But I have to ask, what's the vibe down in the TSRC team, given the fact now you're both on the grid working together and chasing the top 10 in the team's championship?
Yeah, Tom's really solid. He's quite new to us. We've known him for a long time. We've raced against him in years gone by in other leagues and on different sims. We've recently managed to get him to join up with us. He's really good, and to be fair, they all are. It's a good bunch of lads. We have a great time. Everybody sort of looks out for each other, try to help each other to improve and enter as much as we can as an esports team. So generally, it's a nice place to be. It's good to have Tom on board because he's very, very accomplished in other cars, but he's new to front-wheel drive, so I think he's enjoying the challenge. But as you say, he's shown that he's well capable, and with a little bit more luck, would have found himself, I think, firmly in the top 10 all evening. He's adapted quickly to a car that, like I say, he's never really driven. Doesn't remember what the old tire model was like, so he's got no bad habits or anything like that. He's picked it up really well. Yeah, they're a great bunch. It's a decent way to spend your spare time, hanging around with.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. I'm glad to hear that Tom's finding a place within the team, and indeed going from being rivals to now teammates and always being friends as well with that. And just before I do let you go, Andrew, I have to ask, as always, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast this evening?
Yeah, well, I mean, first thing I'll mention is congratulations to yourself for your real life stream at the weekend with the truck racing. Catch a fair amount of that, and it was absolutely top draw, the same as you do with these races. So well done for that, and that's just thanks on as well to the rest of the NXTGEN putting on easily the most competitive league that I can find, which only makes sort of winning and doing well much more rewarding. I go to bed fairly happy. And then just the rest of the boys in the team for the general good time we have, and also the guys around me in the league that race well. We have some great battles. I'm well aware of the quality of some of the drivers that I race against, and respect them.
Well, Andrew, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room this evening, and we look forward to plenty more as the season charges on. And at Spa-Francorchamps in a week's time, we'll see whether you can maintain that consistency that you've targeted at the start of this season, and you're definitely achieving so far after 4 rounds. But until then, to you and all the Sim Racing Collective team, congratulations on your performances this evening. Have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you in Belgium.
Thanks very much, Paul. All the best, mate. See you next week.
So hearing there from our last interview, none other than Andrew Pike, and talking about really where the championship stands as a result of this round. Also there with regards to what has been the mixed fortunes of the team as a whole today, with Andrew really having the better fortune compared to teammate Tom Davidson, new to the team but not new to them in terms of being a rival on the circuit. And in between as well, talking about the approach that he's trying to take for this season in targeting multiple wins overall and picking up his first one of the season as of today's second race, and looking ahead now to the remainder of the season and thinking about where best to position himself in the championship, not wanting to be inside the top 3 too early, but wanting to make sure he's staying well in touch with the top 3, and with P5 provisioning at the moment, definitely picking up some success balance, but not too much, and being competitive. And it's also intriguing his thoughts in terms of the different races, with regards to the fact in race number 1, really enjoying the battling on through. Race number 2, it's all about the race start and then just maintaining that lead. And race number 3, enjoying the close battling, but the unfortunate inevitability in the end that race is so close for so long, something was going to go wrong for someone, and where had to be the worst case scenario where our 4 belligerents, including Andrew Pike, had to end up all going to the wall, and we saw that on the replay footage. But still enjoying all the action and looking forward to the long race at Spa-Francorchamps. I get the feeling many of our drivers are looking to that change up in the theme from the 3x20 format, and we look forward to seeing what he's able to achieve there in a very different style of race. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our post-round interviews with all of our drivers. And well, you've heard from just then Andrew Pike for the Sim Racing Collective in the number 57 for the Pro class. We also heard previously from Matt Emmons, the number 72 from Verano Motorsport in the AM class. And our first interview was none other than 99 driver from JW Motorsport. That was Pro Am class's Harley Bicknell. Thank you to all 3 of them for joining me in the interview room. And as always, congratulations to all for their fantastic performances. Indeed, we look forward to plenty more from them as the season charges on. But now, of course, it's time for an update on the provisional championship standings after 4 rounds of racing, and we begin with none other than the Overall Drivers' Championship. And after today, Wojciech Swirydowicz continues to lead, and his advantage over Mikey Doble has grown to a small extent, given the fact Mikey Doble not on the grid, and this effectively becoming his drop score round. However, looking at Adam Delman, moving a bit closer to Mikey Doble, albeit not quite having the points he would like. And I can imagine if it were not for the incident in race number 3, we would be seeing Adam Delman now moving into P2. Benjamin McCluskey having to battle against the elements conversely, and coming alive more in races 2 and 3, but a low haul points in race number 1, holding him at bay and bringing Andrew Pike closer, particularly after that win in race number 2 of the day. Lee Horn as well on the heels of the top 5, 7 points adrift. Jamie Doria only 3 points behind him. And it's interesting to see how, as the seasons have gone on and Lee Horn has gradually evolved into being in the Pro class, he really is now becoming this staple, this unsung staple of the Pro class, indeed the overall championship. Because we think when Lee Horn got promoted a couple of seasons ago, his target was just to be inside the top 15, and now he is constantly knocking on the door of the top 5 against the big guns of the NXTCC, and Jamie Dory being one of them, and that shows you the development journey that Lee Horn has gone through. From Horn and Dory, we have Isaac Doble in P8, no points accrued today, and Alex Meredith, the leading Pro-Am driver, now moving into P9 on 257 points, 4 ahead of Gavin Gardner, who breaks back into the top 10. Great seeing him back in there, ahead of Matthew Addy, the second of your Pro-Am drivers, by 12 points, who's best the rest. Ben Altria only 6 points further afield, and it's Adam McNally, Matthew Sheraton and Russell Fowler, who with 3 points between them wrap up your top 15. Indeed, all 3 of the drivers there being in close contention, as a mixture of pros and pro-ams normally are. But then coming on to the top 15 of the Pro-Am Championship, and here we can see with the adjustments in the points, Ben Altria leads still. Despite not picking up that many points today, he holds on to a diminished advantage of what is there the best part of 25 points. And Matthew Addy still with him and getting some good points on the board, but I think what could have been with races 2 and 3 if he'd been able to finish a little bit higher. But still, he'll take where he can get, and Alex Meredith as well, only a further 16 points adrift, but as I understand it, going to be on holiday as of next week, and therefore will not be gaining any ground, and it means we'll have a drop score and a 0 score as well for this season. Nonetheless, Matthew Sheraton bearing his fangs today and showing what the Aztec Racing team are known for, and that is drawing out some of the toughest results in this grid, and we're on 360 points. He's not too far off of the top 3, and he's starting to pull away from the rest of the field, with the top 5 being completed by Russell Fowler a further 30 behind. Liam Silkstone sits P6 ahead of Michael Lees, who had an absolutely disastrous day today, and for Lees it's all going to be out the recovery at Spa. Meanwhile, Sam Van Ol's P8 there in what was looking to be a tough start to his day, but getting some points back in the final race of the day. But Goldwyn Motorsport having a nightmare day for their drivers, as much like Van Ol's teammate Andy Fox there not having the results he wanted, particularly in races 2 and 3. James Scout at the other end, meanwhile, dominating a run into what was the top 5 over the course of the Prime Racing today. And well, with that P10 in the championship now, has moved ahead of Nick Clemens by 6 points. Clemens makes it the best of the rest, and it's Duncan Rose, Alan McCain, Toby Prosser and Luke Jones who complete your top 15. But then coming to the AM class, last but not least of our drivers' trophies. And we can see here the AM standings now have Matt Emmons at the top by 2 points ahead of Sam Bradley, where Bradley not quite having the day he wanted but getting some good points on the board, but Emmons almost making it the perfect day with 2 wins and a second, and therefore right now leaping his way into lead. Daniel Fritz is only a further 4 behind from the top 2, and it is absolutely getting nip and tuck up there, and Jonathan Collins a further point behind him. As these drop scores continue to be updated, you can see now the top 5 separated by only 7 points. We have definitely got an incredible AM Championship on our hands. However, there's one driver who we shouldn't forget about here, and that is the man in P5. And well, none other than Mark Kent. And the reason why is because Mark Kent right now is the fastest driver on paper. He is the 1-lap pace man, but he's also perhaps the most unfortunate AM driver we have ever seen, with bad luck hitting him time and time again. And will good luck finally find its way into his capable hands at Spa-Francorchamps? Because if it does, he could suddenly catapult himself right back into this top 5 mix. But in the meantime, he's got Roy Plummer closing the distance through consistency, and Mitchell West as well, who was unfortunate to have a difficult end to his day in race number 3. Craig Tillerson, Kevin Smith and Josh Brown complete your top 10, with further 3 points to Lewis Mason in P11 as best of the rest, and then Costa Chatscontinental sits in P12 on 173 points, with 0 points to the yet participants Tom Delaney, Mike Kurtler and Gabriel Yilmaz. But then we come onto our team's championship, last but not least, and here we can see it's NextGen Pink who find their way back to the top by 58 points over SRL NextGen Gold. With Doble Sim Racing not picking up any points today, they drop to P3, and the battle at the top continues to be who can beat NextGen Pink. Semper Racing sit in P4 and only 6 points ahead of Stam Cases for Next Gen, as the two teams continue to squabble over that 4th place spot and what we believe would become the 3rd place spot after results for next week are accounted for. JW Motorsport sit in P6 on 462 points and are starting to break away from the chasing field and look to be the prime contender to try and take on a top 5 finish this season. With Aztec Racing meanwhile locked in a dead heat with Valkyrie Excite with only 12 points between the two of them, and Valkyrie Excite today getting very few points and a really frustrating day, no doubt about it, for the European team. Whiskey Runners Racing moved to P9 as their results continue to come on in strong, and the Sim Racing Collective complete your top 10 there on what is 288 points and are doing well despite their limited numbers on the grid. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the Next Gen Racing community, or how you can be on the grid in the NXTCC, or alternatively some of our other series that are ongoing and upcoming, well, for all that and more, we do recommend you check out our official website, and that is of course at www.nextgenracing.co.uk, and that website appearing on screen. We're the home of clean and fair sim racing for all, and as we continue to charge forward and go from strength to strength, there's never been a better time to become a member of the Next Gen Racing community, and indeed we'd love to see you on the grid with us, and you can find out all the latest information on our website, and also there we have the invite link to join our Discord. But if you don't want to go to our website, perhaps you're more of a Facebook person when it comes to social media and website browsing, well of course we do have the official Facebook group. That's at facebook.com/groups/NextGen Racing, where there you can find out all the same information as on our website, but also you can find out more about the guys and girls who make up Next Gen in terms of our staff members and our administrators, and also what they do not just on the virtual racing circuit, but also on the real life circuit, including a number of our staff members being stewards, if not real life racing drivers. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'd also like to take a moment to say a big thank you to our sponsors, who do include PowerMax, Next Level Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Sam Cases UK, Douglas Motorsport, Falconer PC Builds and Support, Benji Sim Photos, and by no means least, of course, our title sponsor for this season, Doble Motorcycles. If you're in the market to pick yourself up a motorcycle and it's manufactured by Honda, we'll look no further than Doble Motorcycles. For the simple reason that Doble Motorcycles are the #1 Honda motorcycle dealer in the United Kingdom, and indeed, excellent customer service and lights out to checker flag if you do make your purchase. Alternatively, have your motorbike service by Doble Motorcycles. But if you'd like to know more about what they do and everything in between, and also the history of the Doble family and their motorsporting pedigree, well, do check out their website today at doble.co.uk. But now, ladies and gentlemen, attention does turn, of course, to the Round 5 special in a week's time, because on Tuesday, the 20th of August, 2024, the Ardennes Forest in Belgium will roar with the sound of touring car racing class machines at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. But whereas in previous years, we would be racing 3 20-minute races around their sprint races, instead, we are switching things up, and we are going to be seeing our drivers take on a single 60-minute or 1-hour feature-length race when all important mandatory pit stop. For all the details and the lowdown on that, we'll break it all down for you in a week's time. You've got to be there to see it, and save that date in your calendar, Tuesday the 20th of August 2024. But until then, we've been Next Gen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.